Red Leaf Retrocast Wrestling. Ricky, here we are.
Hello. We are here.
Okay, lots of Puro to talk about. Lots of interesting side news to go over. No house talk,
Okay.
no hockey talk, despite the Devils somehow being 12-4?
12-4 on a 9-game win streak.
This can't keep going, can it? It's impossible.
There's no way this is real. I love my team, and I think they have a lot of promise, but I don't believe this year is the year. Oh, no, it will not last.
No. Other hockey talk would involve the Colorado Avalanche are still finding their stride. They're still a strong team, despite the injuries that have occurred with the team. You know, Landeskog's still out. My boy Nichushkin is out with the ankle injury. You hate to see it, but the team's still strong with McKinnon. And Makar in the back. He just had a 2-goal game the other night.
Yeah, plus the fact that every team that the Avs are facing is throwing everything in the kitchen sink at the Stanley Cup champs, whereas the Devils are playing teams who aren't playing them quite as fiercely, if you could say that.
You definitely notice some different levels of physicality in the league this year. There's a different sense of teams playing harder and more. If you watch a Boston Bruins game right now, the whole team is physical brutes, and they're extremely motivated. Sure. We spoke about this briefly at the kind of the preview of the season, where the Bruins are easily a highly motivated team. They are going in with the last years of Marchand and Pasternak and the crew minus Zdeno Chara. It's the crew from the past 10 years, and they have one last shot at it. It's kind of like what we saw with the Los Angeles Kings in the playoffs this past season, or even 2 or 3 that you saw. But this team is just physical and big. And they're playing big and they're playing hard, and it definitely shows. And that's why they're kind of the best team in the league currently.
Yeah.
Team not very good is the Ottawa Senators, which I'm still high on the fact that I think they have a shot at the playoffs, and you don't want to play them. If you look at a lot of their games, I believe they're losing most of their games by 1 goal. 2 if you count an empty net. They aren't blowouts, and they're one of the few teams that have beaten the Bruins despite it. It's still a team I've been watching and keep an eye on, and I still see some promise in them. Unlike, say, the Calgary Flames, which our boy, our boys up there, he's their top scorer right now with the Flames.
Kadri?
Yeah, Kadri. He's playing well, but the team is defensively shot, which is a shame to see. Offensively, I don't think there's an issue there, but regardless, enough hockey talk. I think that's enough for that. On this episode, I will be talking briefly with some Dragongate Gate of Destiny. I am going back to the Dragongate world, despite my kind of, I don't want to say falling out with the promotion, but less than enthusiastic with the way the summer into the fall has gone. But a little preview or a little teaser is Gate of Destiny might have brought me back. A little indie talk with Presitge out on the West Coast. Certain Jungle Kiona made another appearance, and some Dragon Gate wrestlers. Hey.
Excellent.
New Japan, is it back, Ricky?
It's making a case.
Okay.
It's making a case.
So we got Battle Autumn there, and maybe a little Stardom X New Japan preview of their X history, X historic, X crossover. However you want to say it.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
It should be a really interesting show to see what a new age of, I guess, cultural try is how I'll say it for Japan. And then two topics that are near and dear to me is the PWI rankings that come out every year.
Mm-hmm.
That does mean something to me. I was loosely involved in the last couple of years of choosing at least the PWI Women's 150. This year, they decided to do a panel of only women choosing the women's wrestling, and we got some interesting choices there. Definitely some questionable leaves, I would say, in the top. We'll say 20. Spoke about it on the PWI 500 review, which you can find on the Patreon. It was released for free. Is kind of once they get past the top 20, they kind of hand wave a lot of the actual rankings from then on, and they just kind of list wrestlers more or less loosely. So it's probably more accurate to kind of look at how they break down the top 20.
Sure.
Won't go into as much detail there because it's just going to be you and me. And I actually think they did a pretty good job despite my initial criticism, the way it sounds.
All right.
And then the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. It's that time of year, and the ballots were due essentially today upon we're recording, and it is my third year voting in the Observer as a historian. That's what I'm marked down as for women's wrestling. So
cool.
I'm basically going to reveal my ballots on this podcast and kind of justify it.
Awesome. Love it.
Yep.
I'm here for it,
all
literally
right.
and figuratively.
Okay. You want to start with some Prestige wrestling? Or what's
let's talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, AEW? Screw that show. We'll get to that, I guess, later.
Hey. Hey.
Full Gear's coming, I guess. Whatever.
I hate you so much.
look, Ricky. They have done something so deplorable and so heinous. I cannot forgive.
We will cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's start with Prestige.
Prestige. Okay. So I got this card up. They did not draw 4,000 people. That was New Japan. They did do. They have continued doing sellouts, and they have been doing interesting, good indie cards. I would say it's definitely a promotion when they run a show monthly. I'm going out of my way to watch these shows. Alan Angels, Nick Wayne was good. American Wolves, Violence of Forever, good. Even Sumi Sakai, Amira, not great, but decent little 5-minute match. Kevin Blackwood, SB Kento. So there was some Dragongate talent on this show. 3 of them in particular. SB Kento, La Estrella, and Yamato. Ricky, were these your first experiences with the Dragongate wrestlers?
Remember how I contemplated going to this show because I could go round trip for... Yeah, I forgot to watch it. I was all about this card.
Okay.
And then the day rolled around and I completely forgot about it and didn't get to it before we sat down to record. So I would love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so I'll kind of run the 3 Dragongate wrestler matches all into kind of one critique, which is all 3 matches were good, and I think they impressed in exactly the way that they wanted to. As in, it highlighted each of the Dragongate wrestlers' specialties. SB Kento was more kind of a technical, charisma base. La Estrella was a lucha base, and then Yamato was more of the mat wrestling base. So Prestige was smart enough in putting kind of the best wrestlers that they could get to complement them in that style. Alex Shelley with Yamato, Commander from Mexico for La Estrella, and then Kevin Blackwood for Kento. So in that sense, they were all kind of a must-watch kind of match. I won't say that they're... I wouldn't say that they're like blowaway or anything, but in the sense of, do you want to see what these Dragongate wrestlers can do with kind of talents outside of the norm of what they normally wrestle? I think it's well worth... I think it's well worth your try in watching them wrestle. And then there was a 2-on-1 handicap match. Not into that. That was kind of the only match I wasn't into. There was the West Coast Wrecking Crew losing to C4, which we've talked about C4 before. Yeah, that was a good little kind of before intermission kind of match.
Yeah.
I think
interesting that West Coast Wrecking Crew took the L there. That's I'm impressed.
Well, it's kind of like booking the territory, and I always talk about this when it comes to indies. Is you want to make sure that your people are going over because they're the ones that are coming back next week or next month.
True.
And you want to keep getting people into the building, and so the people you're going to continue booking kind of need to look strong or have at least rivals. And C4 is definitely the tag team of that area. It's very much in that realm of like the main state posse in Limitless, Waves and Curls in Beyond. Currently, you get the idea.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, so they continue on that kind of role, and that was a good match for them. They're not putting them up against high-end teams that they don't think they're ready to beat, because you kind of want to save that for a big specialty show, while a show in kind of the end of October, West Coast Wrecking Crew kind of fits that bill of a team that it's you want to see your local team beat them, and you're comfortable with beating them. I mean, the match was 14 minutes. I believe it was the second longest on the show, so it's not like they didn't give them time.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I feel like Roseland shows are their bigger shows, though. And so I'm not like confused or anything by the result. I'm impressed by the result. Yeah, it makes sense to me. I'm just impressed.
Yeah. Sonico defeated Black Taurus, 12 minutes. That was good.
Sonico is like the ace of Prestige, right?
Yeah, but I'd like to see him in more main events if they want to treat him that way. I feel like there is definitely a push happening with him to get him there. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Sure.
Jungle Kiona defeated Deanna Purrazzo. She won. What? She won. She got the dub. And she beat Deanna Purrazzo.
Wow.
Which I thought was super interesting. When I saw that match made, I thought easy L for Jungle Kiona, right?
Yeah.
Now, the match only went 8 minutes, which I thought was super disappointing because, like, there's nothing wrong with an 8-minute match. It was definitely presented as, like, a TV match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They came out, they did their thing, there was nothing wrong, everything was executed fine, but then you're left and you're like, man, for a semi-main event, I really wanted to see, like, 12, 15 minutes out of these two.
Were there other women's matches on the card?
Yeah, there was a Sumi Sakai match, but that only went 5 minutes. So, I'm not playing the whole the women got shorthanded here. I'm more playing that they just didn't get enough time for their match. Just in general. You know? Maybe they wanted more time for the main event, and they realized they didn't plan it out properly with the times, and they just had to make a decision to short them. There's always reasons when you're booking these things and you're running short. And Yamato Alex Shelley is definitely a big main event. Sorry, Jungle and Deanna, you got the short end of the stick here. However, this is what I came to Prestige to see is the Jungle Kiona Deanna Purrazzo match. That's where my fandom lies, and I just came away going, I want to see more out of these two, and I know they can do more. It was just a very standard affair.
Yeah, I absolutely hear what you're saying. That makes sense.
But the Prestige show in general, Alex Shelley retained the Prestige title over Yamato, which just in the Dragongate lore was kind of weird because Yamato was gearing up for Gate of Destiny over in Japan, which he was in the main event for, going for the Dreamgate title. So it's obviously the Dragongate office doesn't like give a shit about what their wrestlers are doing away from Japan, because the Dragon Gate fans just don't care, and I see that. I mean, it hardly matters what like Yamato or SB Kento is doing losing in Oregon. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, how many of them are actually even going to see it or care to see it or even care about the result? Probably very few. And I personally don't agree with that, at least in the sense of Yamato gearing up for their main event title match. I think you kind of want to just go, all right, maybe don't beat him outright, but this was clearly something decided, weeks and weeks and months ago. So where shall we take this next? Shall we take this in the Dragongate or New Japan territory? Or do you want to get AEW done?
Let's continue with Dragongate, because obviously I don't have an opinion there either. So I just want to listen to you tell me about it. Okay. And then we can talk about the stuff that then I can weigh in on some stuff.
I will play my Dragongate Yamato music then. Here it goes. So, Dragongate Gate of Destiny. I have been very down on Dragongate, I would say, since Dead or Alive, to be exact. Not that Dead or Alive was a bad big show they ran earlier in the year, but ever since they've been gearing up for King of Gate and Kobe World, and then the execution of Kobe World, and coming out of that, I've been extremely down. I thought they did a very poor job. It's not like their overall attendance for Dragongate has been poor, but it definitely hasn't been good. Their schedule is very conservative. I'll put it that way. Dragongate has a schedule where they concentrate a lot on doing many house shows away from Tokyo. So it's a lot of shows in the lower, 300s, 200s in some places. They go to the sticks, if you will. They're that kind of promotion. The problem is they don't run enough interesting shows. to if that makes sense, where they have a monthly Korakuen, which is their building show. Kyoto they've kind of gotten away from, I feel, the Kyoto and Kobe build shows that they used to do. It's clearly a different regime in Dragongate right now. Am I into that? It remains to be seen how much that changes booking-wise, but it has definitely changed the structure in how they book and how they make a lot of the shows. The conscious effort is there for them to retain young talent. That much is clear. They really want kind of a lot of the under 28 talent to stay, which I think, mechanically is a smart decision for any franchise. Whether it's sports or wrestling or the like. And then you keep your very few veterans. And there's going to be some people that aren't on board with that choice. Namely, the departure of Kaito Ishida really sticks out to me. I was very bummed out to see him leave, and now he's mucking it up in, a basement indie, to put it nicely. A big step down, unfortunately. We'll cut to Gate of Destiny here. It's November 6th, 2022 at Edion in Osaka. They got 2,200 people there. I believe it's their second highest attendance of the year. Very good number for them. Good vibes coming out of Gate of Destiny. The undercard is still very much left to be desired for me. As a fan, I think they can definitely do more with that. It's definitely not hitting on the cylinders that I would like. But when you get into the meat of the card after, say, halfway, we'll call that intermission. They tend to have intermission, saved for getting you fresh for the semi-main and main event, or they'll do it right before third for the top or something. But for this, there are 5 matches on this card at the top end that really stick out. Ada defeats Takuma Fujiwara in under 10 minutes. That match is easily summarized as Fujiwara is a super rookie showing off his moves, and Eita finally had enough of his bullshit. Not going to let this rookie get the best of him, and he super kicks him into oblivion and pins him.
Got it.
So that was cool. Fujiwara is my easily runaway rookie of the year, which I will be voting for in the Observer Awards coming soon. Open the Twin Gate match. This is their tag titles. It was Dragon Dia and Kakuta defeating Natural Vibes team of Shimizu and Strong Machine J, 12 minutes. And this 12-minute marker is a theme with this new age of Dragongate booking. The match is good, right? I don't deny that.
Okay.
But is it like a high-end, I can't wait to talk about it good? And they're not. I don't get that feeling. Just as these matches get cooking, they just end. They're just, I don't know whether this is a youth issue or a booking issue or what have it. There's something missing in these match structures that just don't seem to reach the peaks properly. But it was a good match nonetheless. I believe I went 2 out of 3 on this one. I did enjoy it. I do recommend it. The Decourage team is a runaway success with Dragongate this year. It's Daya, Kakuta, and Yuki Yoshioka. It's this trio of young guys that they've really put all their eggs in their baskets for 2022, and it's really paying off when they're able to put these guys in major positions across the year and see them kind of culminate in this Osaka show that we got to here at Gate of Destiny for getting 2,200 people. So that's good. Not a lot of other promotions they don't get behind youth movements the way they should. The Bravegate match consisted of Hio defending his Bravegate title against the Dragongate legend Dragon Kid. 12 minutes, 54 seconds. This match was ass. I hated this.
Can you tell me a little bit about that title? Is it like a never open weight title? Or
so the Bravegate is kind of like their junior title.
Junior, okay.
Yeah. Hio works like Evil from New Japan. Except he's not as good a wrestler.
Oh.
Yeah, he's got the heel shtick. He's very methodical. He saunters around the ring real slow. He grounds his opponent, and then he kind of yammers at the crowd. It's fucking boring. I hate watching this guy. I thought, Dragon Kid's in there. Maybe it'll be something different. He'll fly around the ring a little bit. He'll do some acrobatics. He'll be Dragon Kid. I don't expect 2004 Dragon Kid, but holy hell, give me something here. It was like 9 minutes of him just on the mat going, he's working me. And and Hio just wins anyways. It's ass. I hate it. I don't understand this character. I've thought it's been boring since day one. I don't see what they see in this guy. He is I've been told he's a good talker. I don't even get that sense. Because generally, even if you don't understand the language, okay? Yeah. I watch a lot of wrestling from around the world in languages I don't understand. Fuck, I've seen shows in Italy where there's people speaking Italian. I don't speak Italian. Speak a little Romanian. That's kind of close. But when Hio speaks, it's just this cocky attitude, and I get nothing out of this guy. And it probably doesn't help that I think his matches are ass boring.
Sure.
So, he wins, he retains, my despair continues. Open the Triangle Gate match. These are their trios titles. Remember when those existed in AEW?
Yeah.
So they did this really cool thing earlier on the show, okay? And I wish they do a little bit more of this in a lot of wrestling shows. So there's this rookie called Ishin Ihashi, okay? He is the son of Utaku Hozumi, an LLPW wrestler, which I've been covering on the Patreon, LLPW reviews. Go check those out. This is her son. And he's had a feud with Mochizuki's son, which is another Dragon Gate legend, who's still wrestling, by the way. So his son's wrestling. They've had a little, generation rivalry. They're both kind of rookies at the same time, blah, blah, blah. And Ishinahashi, he accepts the invitation to join the group of M3K. That's Mochizuki's group, okay?
Okay.
So you're like, all right. He's, rivalry aside, we're going to be partners now. Pretty cool. Well, the shtick in this match is Zebrats, the main heel group, had an X, a mystery partner to go against the Mochizuki trio. Mochizuki, his son, and Susumu Yokosuka. Now going by Susumu Mochizuki because it's funny. Well, it is revealed in the ring that this masked figure is Ishin Ahashi. It was all a ruse to join them at the earlier part of the show. He still hates this fucking guy. He joins the heel group, and it's like a 12-minute beatdown of Ishin Ahashi on Mochizuki Jr. And there was good Shun Skywalker and Kai heel work going against Mochizuki and Susumu throughout the match. Shun Skywalker is still one of the best in the world. He's amazing. He did a monkey flip of Mochizuki Jr. into his father. So this was great. This was a runaway 2 out of 3. I thought it was the second best match on the show. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the swerve. I really enjoyed because it made it like it's a swerve that makes sense. Unlike Vince Russo and the bullshit I watch on WCW right now, which is coming on later in the show. Right. So this was good. When you follow along with the story and you get the characters and you get the wrestlers and their rivalries, when they do shit like this, you're into them. And I was into this.
Cool. Love it.
And then the main event, Yuki Yoshioka defeats Yamato 23 minutes. A very good... This is the example of what I'd like to see more promotions do. Okay. So, Yuki Yoshioka, he's been booked strong as champion. The young champion taking over the promotion, and he's kind of got to get some definitive wins to kind of get him further over, okay? He won King of Gate, then he went on to Kobe, and he got pretty good definitive wins against the 2 opponents there, but it wasn't booked very well. So they kind of got to do damage control to try to get him over further. And what they've done after Kobe, I think, has put him over where they need him to. He had the match against Eita about a month ago, and that was good from the babyface perspective, where he got his ass kicked for like 80% of the match, and then he mounted a comeback and beat that dude's ass and put him in the dirt. And he was and Eita's been kind of the main heel guy for the past few years. So, okay, you beat the main kind of villain of the promotion. Now comes Yamato, who's been kind of the ace of the promotion for the past decade. And whether it's Naruki Doi or Yamato or Yoshino, whenever a young guy over the past, I would say post Shingo Takagi era, whenever they come across these guys, they seem to lose. Okay? They put up a valiant effort, and then it's like, not yet. Maybe there's a change in philosophy. Maybe they kind of yank the rug out from under them for whatever reason or another. Well, Yamato starts this match, and he beats his ass for like a good 10 minutes, okay? And it's pretty confident, just like the Eita match, but not as long. Yoshioka mounts a little comeback, and then as they get to the end of the match, the last like 5 to 7 minutes, so there's enough time, Yoshioka just takes control of this match. He's smiling as he beats this guy down. The ace of the promotion, Yamato, right? And commentary is even putting this over as a big deal, saying, how many guys smile when they're against like this caliber of opponent? And Yoshioka flourishes in this. And he just beats him. Definitively. 1, 2, 3 in the ring, no problem. And commentary again says, Yamato can now rest easy knowing the promotion's in this dude's hands. I want to see more promotions do that. It's kind of like the Kenny Omega Hangman Page win, but without interference involved or anything like that. Right? Or without the Young Bucks melodrama. It's just straight up, this guy beat this dude. This is who you need to pay attention to more. And it wasn't like a total passing of the torch moment, but it felt like I am behind this guy and he's going to be the head of this promotion for the foreseeable future, and I can live with accepting that, and I can't wait to see his journey continue kind of situation. Like this guy coming out of this match, I could see realistically, depending on how Obviously, they booked the rest of this run. I can see him holding it for another year, this title.
Wow.
That's how strong he came out of this match, and that's how much I appreciate it. It's not like your 4.5, 5-star match. No. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about just a satisfying win from a wrestler that you want to see succeed.
That's fantastic.
Sometimes that's all you need.
It actually just reminded me of something I did watch this week. Was I tuned in to catch the end of Wrestling Open this week. And the main event was Dustin Flash Waller versus Wheeler Yuta.
I watched that too. I did not go. I was out golfing and enjoying the holiday. Right? 300 plus people showed up to that Beyond show, by the way.
It was massive. It was packed. The fact that Wheeler Yuta and Mei Saruga are drawing indie crowds. I'm assuming those are the two that drew. Allie Katch also made her debut at Wrestling Open. She could have been a draw as well. Trying to think of who else was on that card.
I've
Wheeler
seen
Yuta sold those tickets.
I think it was mostly Wheeler Yuta, but I also think it was the case Veterans Day was the next day. So it's on a Thursday night. Most people aren't working the next day, and that was a big factor.
That's a great point, which I didn't consider. So, sorry, you just mentioned a satisfying outcome and passing of the torch, and that's what I thought of Wheeler Yuta versus Flash Waller. I thought it was phenomenal.
Are you ready to talk some New Japan?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's see. What drop am I going to play? I think I got to play like the old Will Ospreay music. Yeah?
Old Will Ospreay music. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I love his what was that? What's his I think it's called Elevated. I love that intro one.
I don't know what they're called, but
I do like Will Ospreay's kind of Empire music. It's very Catch-22 is not the right word, but oh my god, that dates me, doesn't it? But the Elevated one is very catchy. I don't know why Catch-22 was the first thing that came to my mind. I don't even think that's the right context to use that.
That's definitely not the right. Are you talking about the band Catch-22 or the phrase? Oh my god,
it's the phrase Catch-22. But you know what it is? That's also the team name of Francisco Akira and TJP. I think that's why it came into my mind like that.
Because when you first said Catch-22, I was thinking the band, which then evolved into Streetlight Manifesto. I was like, that is not anything close to what Catch-22 sounds like.
All kinds of things are messed up there.
Very confused. What a fun show Battle Autumn was, though.
Okay, so they drew 4,006 people. Just further proves that New Japan is the top of the heap in Japan. They still draw these big houses. And for a show that's in between the G1 and Wrestle Kingdom, this is a huge success. This is also the same arena that Dragongate ran like the next day. Or the next day. So New Japan doubled.
Okay. Oh.
So for context, Dragongate's the number 3 promotion in Japan right now, and New Japan's getting double on an off show, if we can call that this one.
Sure, yeah, it's not major. Yeah,
right.
You can call it that.
So I asked you this question: is New Japan back with a show like this?
And like I said, I think they're definitely making a case for themselves. The card top to bottom didn't miss really. Solid matches, which is, what you expect from New Japan, but great storytelling, and yeah, I think they're on their way. They're working on it.
I think they're doing a little bit more Americanized booking into their shows. And that's creating some... I think it's garnering some interest in the promotion and creating some buzz.
Can you elaborate?
So, we got the Carl Anderson Hikuleo thing, which is a big story, but it's an undercard type match, right? Then they're doing something with the television title tournament, in which they're utilizing their press conferences to kind of push over fresh new talent. They're doing the Can They Coexist storyline for a 4-way at Wrestle Kingdom for the junior titles, along with incorporating FTR into their tag titles. Okay, I mean, it's still focusing in on what New Japan is in terms of like gaijins coming in, the foreigners, and you want to see your domestic wrestlers best them eventually. Like that's the goal. That's what separates New Japan a lot from other puro promotions like Dragongate or Noah, and how they utilize them. And let's face it, they bring in much higher talent as well. New Japan does.
Sure.
I mean, they're not putting Timothy Thatcher in the main event of a Korakuen Hall for their IWGP title. They're not doing that.
I mean, Timothy Thatcher's special, but he's not that.
No.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I mean, one of the most boring matches I've seen live was Timothy Thatcher against Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
Yeah, very boring. They just grapple fucked the whole time.
Yeah. We were so hyped for that, too.
Well, everyone, oh man, this is going to be cool. Thatcher, big, like local guy, and Kingston's cool, and then they just kind of sat on the mat forever.
Yeah.
Killed the crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they beat the shit out of each other, but it just doesn't try. Anyways, so this New Japan show. IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, Francisco Akira, TJP defeats the LIJ team of Bushi and Titan. I love this. This is what I wanted the Twin Gate match to be, more precisely, at Gate of Destiny. Just high octane, hitting moves, giving me some energy, and while the Dragon Gate teams did that, they didn't do it to the speed that these guys did. And I think that has a lot to do with Titan in this match bringing in a higher Lucha Libre factor to it. And Francisco Akira also brings that as well, the good old Italian boy.
Yeah, this match was so fast.
On the attractive factor, who's higher, Francisco Akira or Titan?
Wait, Titan wears a mask, doesn't he?
Yeah, okay. You don't like a man of mystery?
I'm like, that was not even a question.
you don't like a little Mexican spice with some mystery topped on that? No.
Well, I do hear that Bandito is like the most handsome man on the planet, and so just like knowing that he's handsome under that mask, I'm like, he's like on my list, even though I don't know what he looks like, because I can just like imagine.
Well, Bandito's been pumping out kids, so I there's something to it.
I understand.
For sure.
Yeah, I understand, but I don't know. There's something about Italian ginger that I can't pass up. I mean, Kira's kind of ginger, right?
Okay. I mean, we can call it some cinnamon spice if you want.
He's ginger, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So, yeah. I have a thing for gingers. Maybe it's because they don't have souls. I don't know.
All right, so that was good. Let's see. 8-man tag, Hikuleo squash of Ren Narita defeats Sonata 30 seconds before the time limits. What's your take?
Yeah.
What's your take on Ren Narita? We're going to the finals. It's Zack Sabre against Ren Narita at Wrestle Kingdom for the television title.
So, I didn't really know what to expect going into this match. I haven't seen a ton of Ren Narita lately at all, since I'm only watching the bigger shows. I think he was in the States for a while, right? And I might have seen a couple of his matches over here, but yeah, wow. I don't know. I thought it was great. It went a little long for me, but not because of the match. I don't think the match quality suffered from it. I just don't think I needed 15 minutes of it.
I will admit, I have gotten pretty tired of Sonata's antics of getting close to the time limit, and that's mostly because Sonata's character is wanting to do that, and yet if you do go the time limit draw, then they just flip a coin and you could lose. So I don't know why he'd want to do that. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. Unless you're convinced you're going to lose. It's almost like in a soccer game in the World Cup. If you're like, I don't know, let's say you're a bad Ecuador team and you're up against France, the favorites. Can you kill 90 minutes and then take it to penalties and have a chance to win? I guess that's a strategy. I mean, it's not a very good one.
It's a strategy.
It's a strategy, and that's how I felt like Sonata was doing. He's just killing time until he can maybe flash pin you when you're trying to beat the time limit yourself. That format, that strategy, I'm not into. I'm getting very kayfabe with that. But Ren Narita, the son of Strong Style, he's like Shibata incarnate. I really like it. I'm into him. I think he should beat Zack Sabre Jr.'s ass at Wrestle Kingdom. Crown this young guy. Let's get going.
Okay. Yeah, why not?
Will they do it?
Argue with that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like when's the last time ZSJ held a title in New Japan?
A singles title? I don't think ever.
He had some. Oh, it wasn't even a New Japan belt. It wasn't an IWGP belt. I was going to say he had some like British title, but that was just.
Right, so that makes it a very interesting final at the very least, because Zach has never won a singles New Japan title. And with all of his accolades, you would think he was on the precipice of doing it. But the story seems to be all about Ren Narita. And the crowds behind Ren Narita, much more than Zack Sabre Jr. I say let's not putz around. Honestly, I think if they don't crown Ren Narita, it's a big miss on New Japan. Despite my enjoyment of Zack and what he does and what he's represented, and he's certainly earned his shot at various titles.
Yeah.
I think there's other titles that he could win like tomorrow. The never open weight really comes to mind immediately. He can have that.
Yes.
The US title. He can win that from Will Ospreay. They have a built-in feud that can last forever.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Can they coexist? Desperado and Wato defeat Hiromu and Taiji Ishimori.
I loved this match. I thought it was so fun. Can they coexist part of it? I mean, that was the story of the match, right? Whoever can work together is going to win.
Sort of.
Although, but that's not really what happened, right? I mean, yeah. I would love to see Takahashi and Taiji Ishimori continue to tag, actually. I thought they were really entertaining together.
I kind of want Desperado and Hiromu to tag more, despite their little rivalry.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. There's a lot of things they could shake up.
Yeah, sure. I had so much fun with that match. It was just, lots of moves and they coexist and spots and
slapping each other for tag ins, forearming each other off the apron. The ref goes tag.
Yep.
It was good. I even like the Ishimori betrayal when they finally got along, and then Ishimori and Hiromu was like, "Oh shit, are we doing this? All right, let's go!" And then he just knees him in the face, and that's how he got pinned.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm pretty hyped for the 4-way. I think 3 of the 4 people are viable contenders to win this title at Wrestle Kingdom. Master Wato, they did at least a decent job, and he's done a decent job on his body and getting in shape and getting ready for the match.
Yeah.
But the last person I want to see win this junior title is Master Wato. He's just not that guy.
Sure. Yes, I'm with you on that.
Okada, Tamataga, they beat Bullet Club, Jay White, and Kenta. Fine. 17 minutes. FTR defeats United Empire, Okan, and Cobb. Did you think FTR was actually going to retain these titles? This also went 17 minutes.
Yes, I did think they were going to retain.
Oh. Did you now?
What?
You thought they were going to retain?
Yes, I did.
I was 50-50.
I feel like they're not going to start losing titles until they get the AEW tag titles back.
As in they get all 4 tag titles around their waists. That doesn't seem like the story being told, though. Otherwise, that would have been done way sooner, right?
I don't think that's the story that they're telling. I thought they were telling, like, we're the best in the world and we're going to win all the gold. I thought that was the story they were telling.
Yeah, but it's the AEW titles seemingly have never been part of that equation.
I mean, they keep trying to get into that tag scene, into that title scene, and they keep getting shoved aside. It is definitely part of the story.
I don't feel like it is. Maybe it is now, but then what are they doing at Full Gear?
That is
FTR's not on another pay-per-view.
I know. It makes no sense, and everybody's upset, including myself. But I think they're gonna get there. That's
like
my thought
why.
On the situation.
Like if it was such a part of the story, and the AEW titles were part of this IWGP and AAA and ROH thing, then why isn't it FTR versus the Acclaimed at Full Gear? Why wasn't it them at All Out or the New York tennis match show?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know why it wasn't them. Well, it wasn't them at All Out because Swerve and Lee had the titles at that point. Or you're saying why didn't they face them?
Right.
Because they had Motor City Machine Guns. I mean, that was the story there. And then Grand Slam was to rectify.
There it is.
Was to, give
I get
title
where
after,
the story went, but why wasn't the story around FTR and those tag titles? It just doesn't seem to be part of that case. We're talking AEW for this IWGP tag title match. I mean, I really liked Dax Harwood and Jeff Cobb in this, for sure. I mean, these teams mold super well together. FTR's not in tag league.
That's true.
They got the junior. They got the junior and regular heavyweight tag league going on simultaneously.
Right.
Not a lot of teams you expect to be in it.
You know who else is not in tag league is Private Party. No. I think that is a huge miss by not sending Private Party to Japan for tag league.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Tony Khan, I'd find a way to kind of see if I could play ball and get some of my young tag teams I'm not using over there. Yeah. They can eat some L's. It's no big deal. When was the last time we even saw Private Party on TV?
I don't know. They were doing some storytelling on Dark last week, which I thought was really, it was really fun and entertaining. But I don't understand why they're telling stories on Dark if they don't follow through with it on TV. because you're not getting a TV audience to and tune in, try to reel in your TV audience to watch your YouTube product. It's confusing. It's all very confusing.
I mean, I'm okay with storylines revolving around Dark with younger talent and talent trying to do something new there. That's fine, because the money's on TV. The money's not on YouTube. It will never be on YouTube anytime soon.
No,
so Private Party want to have like the Brandon Cutler Peter Avalon thing is like great for YouTube.
Yes,
that shit is fantastic and so much fun, and I like that. Emi Sakura on Dark is a lot of fun. I don't think they utilize that to the extent that they could. They do sometimes, but you get the idea what I'm going with. It's weird how this became a big AEW discussion around FTR, but it is relevant to what these tag titles are, what they're doing, because now we just have to assume that they're going to defend these titles at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Who do you think's winning Tag League?
Oh.
I mean, I'm just going to go with the safe bet of Aussie
United
Open.
Empire. Yeah, that's what I meant. That's exactly what I meant when I said United Empire came out of my mouth. Yep. I mean, I'm in the right wheelhouse.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're part of the same factions. You're there. You're good.
That's exactly what I meant, though. I think they're going to win it, and they're going to do that rematch at Wrestle Kingdom. Absolutely.
All right. Will Ospreay, United States title, defends and defeats Tetsuya Naito. 30 minutes. Well,
classic.
Big Dave gave it 5 stars.
Did he?
9.38 on Cage Match.
Wow. Yeah, it's a classic. Oh, can you tell me about this asshole voice of United Empire? Who the fuck is this guy? He's terrible. I hate him.
Gideon Gray?
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. I hate him for the right reasons. I hate him for the heel reasons.
Oh, he's a squirrel guy, isn't he? He's a squirrely guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't actually hate him. I think he's a fantastic performer.
Oh yeah, he's like
it's heel heat. It's true heel heat.
Who is it? Is it Quasimodo, the assistant of Dracula? Is that
no,
one thing?
That's Igor. Quasimodo is the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh right, you're right.
Right, deformity, wrong book.
So Gideon Gray reminds me of Quasi Cross Igor, where he just introduces fucking, I guess, Will Ospreay's Dracula in this case, coming out of the ring to destroy America in Japan. Phenomenal match. Oh my god!
Ospreay
So
as a vampire. Yeah, this match. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a bloodsucker, isn't he?
Oh baby.
Do you want him to suck your blood?
Let me tell you, he was having a lot of fun on the last Jericho cruise, and if I was unattached on that cruise, it would have been interesting. Let's just leave that there.
Okay. So this match, the longer it went on, it just kept getting better. And this is what... So, okay. I watched that Dreamgate title match, and I watched this. Same weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that main event. You heard me. I was like, definitive, fucking what we need, awesome stuff. Will Ospreay Tetsuya Naito happened. And it's just another level to these things.
Mm-hmm.
I can watch my Utah Jazz, and Kerry Markinen is throwing up 28 points. Yeah, sure, he hit like 6 out of 8 threes, and good games, teams like 10-5. But then there's, Joel Embiid throwing up 59 on the Jazz, and you go, that's a star. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
you're like, all right, maybe you can argue the teams are built differently, and that's fine. That's totally true. But when it comes down to it, Will Ospreay and Tetsuya Naito are better wrestlers. They're bigger stars, and they put on fucking phenomenal matches. And this was just out of this world. I'll tell you when it turned around. When it just hit that other level. And it's just doing these incredible feats and getting you into it. It's when Naito went to the top and he does that Poison Rana from the top rope. And Ospreay flips, lands on his feet, and you hear the entire crowd just go, ah! And I'm in my couch going, ah! Ospreay just does his overdramatic, zombie look up, and he's like, yeah, I fucking landed on my feet. And he wins it all.
Holy cow.
He's hitting hidden blades. Naito's kicking out. So, this is one of my favorite matches of the year. Like, I separate my women's wrestling and men's wrestling because they are different, just like any sports are. I do. They elicit different emotions out of me. They elicit different. What am I thinking of? It's different emotions and different, I guess, compulsions to watch.
Okay.
The emotions I feel when I'm seeing Naito and Ospreay are just it's just a next level. And I know I keep repeating myself on that, but that's what I'm going. That's what this shit means when I'm watching these things. Like, I'm watching Hall of Fame talent in the ring perform at their absolute peak, and this really got me thinking. As they're doing this finishing stretch, and I'm just, my eyeballs are out of my head. I'm in awe of the spectacle I'm seeing and just the in-ring game. And I'm thinking, it wasn't any more than 18 months ago, we thought Naito was just this washed old dude with no knees, and he's 36, 37. And from a sports perspective, sometimes this happens where guys get broken down for a couple of years. They go have surgery of some kind. They come back and they're stronger. Look at Justin Verlander. He just came back from Tommy John surgery at 38. Then he just won a World Series with possibly a Cy Young Award to go along with it.
Yeah. Incredible.
That's a Hall of Fame talent. And I'm looking at Naito going, this guy has no knees. He had one eye. he had double vision, couldn't see. His back is probably shot. He's got atrophy in his thighs because he has no knees.
Yep.
And then this, you watch him in 2022. It's it's just one match after another where this guy, no, he's not winning anything major, but he's putting on matches like this that just affirm to me that he's a Hall of Fame guy that is back, and this is why he's one of the best in the world. And of course, Ospreay is the best of the last 5 years.
Sure. Yeah. I don't have a lot to add because you're spot on.
Okay. Did you want Naito to win the U.S. title?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do enjoy Ospreay's run. So I didn't really care who won this match. And
well, they did a big angle in the post with Shota.
And then the angle at the end.
Yeah. So Shota Umino comes out.
Wait a minute. Hang on. Yeah. I loved him in all white. I loved him. First of all, the jacket said shooter on the back too. And then when he exited through the crowd and did the Moxley walk, I was squealing. I was giggling on my couch, and it was fantastic. I loved the angle at the end.
All right, very satisfying. If this is if this is the New Japan we'll get going forward, then I'm all for it.
Same. I will continue to tune in.
All right, so last couple topics here. PWI Women's 150 came out, and I tried to get a friend to do audio with me, but it's not available, so we'll have to do it here. So the 150 came out, and the top 10. I sent you the link. We could go through the top 20 if you want. I will go through 20 through 11, anyways. And if something comes up and you want to make a comment, go for it. So 20 is Utami, 19 Deonna Purrazzo, 18 Ronda Rousey, 17 Liv Morgan, 16 Azumi, Stardom, 15 Mickie James, 14 Masa Slamovich, 13 Britt Baker, 12 Miyu Yamashita, and 11 is Tasha Steelz. Outside looking in, we have Sasha Banks, Mayu Iwatani, Toni Storm. This is no particular order. Alex Windsor, Camille of the NWA, Meiko Satomura, and Mandy Rose. So I really laughed at Mandy Rose being outside the top 20, being NXT champion for so long. Look, she's arguably the worst major league champion there has been in the last half decade. She's been that bad. Yeah.
Well, unless you consider the new NWA champion.
Well, that is not a woman. Thankfully. Tyrus as the NWA. Holy shit. Billy Corgan is on some crap.
Yeah. Anyway. Sorry, I forgot we were talking about women.
Right.
She said worst champion, and I was like, hang on. Hold my beer.
Worst women's champion is the specifics to that.
Okay.
I mean, it's not the people I'd have in my top 20. Obviously, I have my reservations. The ones that kind of stick out to me the most are Mickie James and Azumi. Even from a kayfabe perspective, Azumi she's rarely main evented. She's high speed champion. It's the 5th most important title in Stardom. It's not that great. Yeah. This is just an example of what I was saying with kind of the all women's panel, and they're Azumi gets some buzz every now and again because of her high speed lucha style, which is fine. If we're keeping things simple, I'd probably just switch her and Utami, keep things even and simple. Mickie James, she's been washed up. She has a singular story going on with Impact of the last rodeo. I also think, and I've spoken about this on the men's 500. I spoke about this last year. I think the PWI Women's 150 vastly overrates Impact Wrestling. And I think they overrate the NWA even more so. Without a doubt.
Yeah, I was wondering about Tasha Steelz at 11. Not that she's not a fantastic performer. But she ranks ahead of Deonna. I feel like wasn't Deonna holding the title for a while this year?
Their months of criteria are October to October, essentially. Okay. But even regardless of that, if we keep kayfabe with wins and losses, and I would say they should put more emphasis on strength of competition and how they're booked from a kayfabe perspective. Yeah, Deonna Purrazzo to me was the top Impact champion. Okay, Tasha Steelz I thought was significantly the weakest, and then how Jordynne Grace specifically won the title and has defended it since in seemingly one match of importance, and that was against Masha at Bound for Glory.
Yeah,
I think the order of those are vastly out of place and overrated. But I have been on record with saying how much I don't agree with Impact Wrestling being kind of in the same realm of a lot of these wrestlers.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yep.
Let's see. Anything else here that stands out? Britt Baker at 13, I think, is a little low. Miyu Yamashita is fine at 12. Don't really have much issue with that. WWE wrestlers, that's neither here nor there. I don't have an issue with that either. It is kayfabe. Strength of promotion does matter, I feel.
Yeah. Valkyrie at number 10.
Okay, so the top 10. This is where things get real hazy and strange to me. So
Yeah.
Taya Valkyrie 10, Starlight Kid 9, Charlotte at 8, Saya Kamatani at 7, Jordan Grace at 6. We already talked about her. Jade Cargill at 5, Becky Lynch 4, Thunder Rosa 3, 2 Bianca Belair, and 1 is Shuri from Stardom. So big deal with Stardom at number 1. It caused a lot of backlash initially on the Twitter. And one thing I will notice, and I really looked far and away for this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Last year, if you remember, Bianca Belair got 1, and then it was, if I remember correctly, it was like Britt Baker and who else was in it? I can't remember, but it was, the point is, it was like Bianca Belair, Britt Baker, and various other people in the top 10. A couple Stardom wrestlers. Utami, I think, was 2. And a lot of podcasts and wrestling pundits and high-end wrestling podcasts, like, let's just throw some names out there, like Busted Open, The Torch, Ringer, all these people that like get paid tons of money to podcast and do radio shows. We're all over the women's 150, okay? And they were all in praise of Bianca Belair going number 1. And then they were a little bit critical of like who was under her, okay? This year, Shuri wins, Bianca Belair at 2, which is still no small feat, mind you. But Thunder Rosa at 3, Jade Cargill at 5, Saya Kamatani at 7, Grace at 6, Starlight Kid at 9, Taya Valkyrie at 10. Even though I don't agree with like the position of a lot of these, WWE, while represented, wasn't the best, right?
Right.
And neither was AEW.
Yeah.
Even though they were represented. I think this top 10 is very even among a lot of the promotions out there. And they've kind of kept the same let's say second and third rating of Stardom in the same place. Okay? So they definitely have a like criteria in PWI of like, okay, we can only have this many of this promotion here, this many of this promotion in this tier, this many in this promotion in this tier, and now it's just like ordering it. Okay? I don't necessarily agree with that, but I get it. But with Shuri going number 1, what has happened is nobody's talking about PWI 150. They're avoiding it because all of these radio shows and podcasts don't watch Stardom. And then if they do talk about it, they're exposed for their ignorance. And then the other aspect is, and I'm going to make a bold claim here, I think they're also afraid to talk about the women. I think they're afraid to critique them because of how much blowback it comes with doing that. Like, do I think Thunder Rosa should be number 3? Absolutely not. I don't think I could make an argument she doesn't even deserve to be in the top 10 because her championship reign has been an outright failure. She got the title, yes, but she vacated it just as soon, and she has had bad matches on top of it. Jade Cargill's been a strong champion, no doubt, undefeated record, but she's not a great in-ring worker.
Opponents.
Right. And
the quality of opponent.
And a quality of opponents is a criteria, and she hasn't had a good quality of opponents. Taya Valkyrie, she has a bunch of indie titles that mean jack shit. She has the AAA women's title, which means basically nothing. And yet she's number 10 for the, I guess, pity Mexican pick, kind of like with what Vikingo was in the men's. These things I'm vehemently against is doing things like, I get why PWI likes Thunder Rosa. She has her own women's promotion. They put a lot of stock in her, influence in the business, impact on women, etc. Like, I get it.
Trains a lot of women.
Well, allegedly. I don't think she does like direct. Yeah, but anyways, like, that's what we're talking about here. Now, Shuri at 1, I do agree with. Of course, I do talk a lot of Stardom on this podcast, absolutely. But for like, even Starlight Kid in the top 10 is very strange for a kayfabe list, because here's the thing: by their I think they're just kind of playing excuses here at PWI when they say that when certain women don't make the 150, they go, oh well, we're concentrating on singles wrestling, and I really don't like that. Even when it comes to like the Observer Hall of Fame, is why are we discounting essentially what could be half of a wrestler's resume, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because they're a tag team wrestler or singles wrestler. Like, I would say 75% of Shuri's case is in these high-end tag and trios matches in Stardom. Bianca Belair wrestles a lot less, and they're mostly in singles matches, and half of them aren't good. You know, there's different things to consider, and I can see why a panel would need to debate these things for a long time. But outright dismissing someone because they're a tag wrestler, I think does a disservice. So I don't, like, based on their criteria at PWI, Starlight Kid number 9, I would say she hasn't earned that spot by their criteria.
Right.
If I'm going by what I think the definition should be and how to interpret it, Starlight Kid at 9 is fine. But when I'm seeing other people like Micah and Himika and a lot of other Joshi wrestlers that just don't make the 150, or even some other wrestlers out there that concentrate on a tag career, I think you're doing a disservice to the list and a highlight of the wrestlers.
Okay.
Do you have any thoughts over kind of the top 10? Give me some hot takes here.
Well, so I don't know that I have any hot takes. And time means nothing to me ever since the pandemic. So I'm trying to think of things in the evaluation period. I feel like, wasn't Becky Lynch gone? How long has she been back from maternity leave that she's at number 4?
Well, she came back at SummerSlam and she had the title a good chunk of time. And she's one of the top. I would definitely have her, a top 5 for sure. I got really no issue with Becky Lynch as high as she. What happened was at, I think it was at Backlash or something. She blew out her shoulder in the match against Bianca Belair, and that's why she's kind of out of sight, out of mind right now.
Gotcha. Well, I also know Charlotte Flair has not wrestled since May.
Right.
So her at number 8 is surprising. Even though she obviously, was booked, when she's active in WWE, she's always booked the strongest, right?
Right.
So
kayfabe wise. Well, that brings up an interesting point. Well, what about all those people that made the top 10 in the men's that missed like half a year? How come they got rated so high? It's kind of the same. Yeah. Right. Or they use that as a reason to not rate someone high. And yet here's Charlotte Flair in the top 10 missing half the year. Right.
So those are my thoughts. I do think Thunder Rosa is misplaced also. Yeah, the top 10 is... Yeah.
It's a weird order to it, I will say.
Yeah.
Yes. I would... if I'm kind of looking at other people here, further down...
Yeah.
I would maybe put TJPW a little higher in some cases. I think it'd be cool to have a new promotion kind of crack into it. Like, I get why these women are ranked the way they are. Like, I totally see it. I just don't agree with it, which is why you would have a panel and debate, right?
Yep.
Like, Tam Nakano is, let's see, number 30, and she was white belt champion for Stardom for a few months in this period, and she's been one of the most pushed acts in Stardom for the last couple of years. So she would definitely rank a little higher. But then we're getting into the nitty-gritty of like later in the list. I'm not saying she's top 10 or anything. Masha Slamovich is an interesting case, being, in my opinion, the top indie worker. Is 14 a little high or low? I don't know. I'd have to dive even deeper into these things to really decide. But initially, it's just strange how much I differ in my opinion in evaluation of certain wrestlers comparatively. Okay. So I'm pulling up now my Observer Hall of Fame ballot. You ready for this?
Yeah. Let's do it.
So if you want to listen to some extensive Hall of Fame discussion, I was on the Patreon last year, patreon.com/RedLeafRetrocast, easily searchable of Hall of Fame. Did a ton of audio over all of the candidates and all the ballots, and one of my promises for this year was to go further into things like managers and bookers and promoters, especially the older ones, where I felt I wasn't as knowledgeable as I'd like to be able to vote properly. Okay? If you go on to Voices of Wrestling and type in Rossi Ogawa or Meiko Satomura, I, at least in the case of Rossi Ogawa, had help with Alex of Last Word on Sports and Stardom Quest podcast. We did a joint article over Rossi Ogawa, the booker and promoter of Stardom, on why he is a Hall of Fame level caliber contender for this. He dates back into the late 70s. So if you read things of saying this guy hasn't mattered until 2011, they're wrong and they're misinformed. He's been around since the late 70s, and we kind of spelled out his career, and my whole point to the article was to tell the story of Rossi Ogawa is to tell the story of women's wrestling. And that's how much this man has had an impact on wrestling in a positive manner, has had influence, and honestly, let's face it, women's wrestling is hard as shit to book compared to men to be successful. And this man has brought women's wrestling to peaks multiple times in a booker and promoter role across his era. So go read that article, Voices of Wrestling, Rossi Ogawa. And then I did a Hall of Fame case about Meiko Satomura. Notice I didn't say for Meiko Satomura. Okay?
Got it.
I did a deep dive over her last year on the audio, and I went even further with the deep dive, and I found even more aspects to her career on why she shouldn't go into the Hall of Fame. I'll give you an example. Meiko Satomura is coined as kind of the savior of Joshi wrestling to keep it kind of afloat during the Dark Ages. Okay, that's a very common defense of hers, right? Of her era, she was the best wrestler and kept this place afloat with all of her training, all this. Well, did you know when Gaia closed in 2005, she didn't have a main event title match of any kind in any promotion until 2010.
Wow.
There is a 5-year gap of her even having a title match. Okay?
Wow.
And the drawing house was 1,100 at like this 5,000 seat arena. It was putrid. It was terrible. Okay? Then she didn't win her first title until 11 years after the closing of Gaia in Stardom, booked by who? Rossi Ogawa. So there's an example. I went deep into how much Meiko Satomura kind of ended up being how much she hasn't impacted the Joshi seat as much as people like to think she has. While there's definitely cases for other people that probably has better aspects and other points. So I did Rossi Ogawa, and I'll start with the non-wrestlers on my ballot, okay? Bobby Bruns, Start of wrestling, basically, Ricky Dozen and the like. I think he's a no-brainer going into it. Bobby Davis, I've decided to not vote for him because I simply don't have enough kind of conclusive evidence that someone else couldn't have done the job. You know what I mean? He is kind of the starter of the heel manager, right? That's not enough for me. It's kind of like I kind of put that in the same as this might sound a little harsh, but like belt makers and referees and that kind of thing. Like, I can respect their work, but it's not Hall of Fame work. And then George Scott and Morris Siegel, other promoters of the likes. A simple wiki will give you your answer for those. I would have continued to vote for Kadani, but he fell off last year. He is the man behind Bushiroad, which you can. He fell off last year, which I was kind of bummed out because I voted for him 2 years in a row. So a third year is not coming. In Japan, this was tough this year because I told myself I was not pussyfooting around anymore with Ishii. I was like, this guy's one of the greatest workers I've seen in any era. And then Big Dave Meltzer decided we're going to add tag teams this year. I went, oh, fuck.
Oh.
So Holy Demon Army is like a no-brainer for me. I was already a Taue voter before the Holy Demon Army. Now he's there. So, and then Shingo was also added on. Okay. So there was 2 spots.
Okay.
So Holy Demon Army's in, and it really came down to Shingo or Ishii. And to me, Shingo has the proven main event track record, the drawing record, and I also think Shingo's a better wrestler, so that already kind of kicks Ishii back a step. Know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So, Holy Demon Army, Naito, Ibushi, Shima, which I spoke a lot about Shima and his Hall of Fame credentials on the audio on the Patreon last year, so go listen to that, and Shingo. So those are my 5 there. In Mexico, a lot of changes went to the ballot, and I've done more research on Mexico. I am a Lucha fan. I just don't really talk about it a whole lot on this podcast. I do have ambitions of doing some more historical Lucha audio when I don't know whether I get more time or find some inspiration to finally kick myself in the ass and do it. But I didn't vote for Mexico last year because I thought his WWE run hurt him so much. But upon more research and watching him in Mexico and how big he was, and he was Wrestler of the Year at one point, he was the biggest draw in the world at one point, I more or less convinced myself that this man needs to go in. I am voting him this year. Dave added very contriving tag teams and trios that I don't even know where to begin with a lot of these teams. There's Los Dinamanta. There's all of the Villanos on the ballot. And I'm just like, Dave, I don't know what to do with these things. Forget it. I can't. There's no way I can. I just don't know how to consider a lot of these. Where I spoke about it with PWI, right? How can I personally have a hard time distinguishing tag credentials and singles credentials when I'm considering, to me, the wrestler. Okay? Like, just because I liked the Hart Foundation as a tag team doesn't mean I think Jim Neidhart is a Hall of Famer. Okay?
Sure. Yep.
With that said, Hio del Hio Santo and Octagon, I am voting in as a tag team in the Mexico region. And those are my only 2 this year. I voted Octagon last year. I'm still looking at Octagon as the singles, and then this tag team was part of that. So I'm just continuing that vote in that sense. And then my modern and historical US and Canada was pretty tough this year for me.
Okay.
Not so much the historical. I kind of had all that in my mind, and there was a couple names added here, but it didn't really impact me. There was the option to have 8 people you could vote on this thing this year instead of the usual 5, but I still stuck within kind of those under limits because of just my own reasons and what I think. But Raka and Perez are the no-brainer there, much like the Holy Demon Army. I'm still voting June Byers year over year. If you want to see a lot of good June Byers historical credibility, a guy on Twitter and in various Discords, his name is Fred. I believe it's @Fred or something simple. He has pulled up a lot of articles about why June Byers was the draw for a lot of towns and houses over the course of like 20 years. And she was the successor to Mildred Burke. So she was trained and had to there is an underestimation of overcoming adversity in, I think, a lot of voters' minds. A lot comes to women's wrestling, and I think a lot comes to people of color. Okay, I'll get the junkyard dog in a second, but this is something that's like, I boast that I have an anthropology degree along with my geology degree. Okay, I truly I've lived in different countries, I've lived in different cultures, I've lived in different places that don't speak the language that I do. I've had to learn that. There is a lot of cultural aspects and race aspects I will just simply never understand, right? Because I am not them. There is definitely something to be said for people having to overcome boundaries that society has set on them, whether it's their choice or not, right? June Byers is a woman in a man's world, and she had to overcome a lot of that. And for her to be a draw, even on a lower sense than maybe the industry was used to or what you're deeming as Hall of Fame, to me, that is something that goes above and beyond even the expectations of the time. And I can't tell you how many historians and wrestlers, when it gets to a women's match on a card, or it gets to a women's candidate on a Hall of Fame ballot, they go, it's ladies wrestling, and they hand wave it. Even Rossi Ogawa goes through that with, he does the ladies wrestling. He's never done anything, right? And that drives me nuts, and it's simply not true. When June Byers is drawing like 12,000 people to El Paso or in Saskatchewan, Canada. Like, are you kidding me? So there's the case for June Byers. I repeat myself every year, and now I have even more data to back it up as time goes on. So @Fred has an extensive Twitter thread over why she's a Hall of Fame candidate. I will continue to vote for her. And she is kind of the baseline. If she's not in, there's not a lot of women that have earned to be in above her. Okay? Johnny Rougeau, he's kind of one of the kings of Quebec. As someone who went to indie shows in Quebec, they still talk about Johnny Rougeau to this day. He popped houses. I think there's like a 20,000 sellout in Paris, France at one point that he was a part of, which is not to be underestimated. And then Tiger Jeet Singh. All you have to do is watch his Inoki feuds, and I think you'll get it right away. There's 3 categories that the Observer Hall of Fame goes over where you have to be part of all 3 or exceedingly great in 1, maybe even 2, right? In-ring, drawing money, and historical influence. And I'm a big proponent of all 3 of those things being basically equal, right? In June Byers' case, she's incredibly historically significant, right? Woman breaking boundaries, woman drawing money, those kinds of things. Not to mention her in-ring. Obviously, it's very hard to find June Byers' in-ring stuff, but if you read the articles, she was a woman that was marketed kind of as she's just as good as the men. kind of situation. And there's something to be said with that in women's sports in general. Tiger Jeet Singh, he's one of the worst workers you'll probably ever see, but he drew money and he was very historically influential in kind of bleeding buckets and being a foreign heel kind of situation there. So now I'll go on to the modern. I'll go through this real quick. I'm voting for CM Punk. I hate to do it. I don't like the guy, but he had his one last run. That was kind of the convincing factor for me. His AEW run is, to me, case enough, right? Yeah.
That MJF feud was the feud of the year for sure. So
right, it's right up there. And then Paul Orndorff and Sergeant Slaughter. I'm voting again. Okay. Junkyard Dog, voting for him again. Look, he's basically the first major black star. Okay?
Yeah. Yep.
And one thing I was researching this year, and it's very, I think, underrepresented, is his ability to draw, and draw culturally as well. It's not just drawing money. It's what a cultural icon he was in Louisiana. It was also in Texas. Okay?
Huh. Okay.
And for those that, I've lived in both those states. Okay? I've lived and worked in both those states. I grew up in Houston. I lived in Lafayette, Louisiana. Junkyard Dog has major cultural impact in both those states. And let me tell you, those are not states that are any remotely the same. Okay? They speak differently. They talk differently. It's too look. There's a whole French culture in Louisiana that's there. That there's back swampland type culture. They call them Cajuns and Coonasses. And then you have Houston, which is like a business city, oil tycoons, white rednecks. And yet Junkyard Dog was able to break these boundaries and be in star in both these territories. Obviously different eras, but you have to kind of... I am a big proponent in judging people by the era that they're in. And Junkyard Dog was a cultural icon in both these regions, and he was a huge star for it. People will point to, he only had 4 or 5 years. Look, the Attitude Era was 3 years. So what are we doing?
Right.
It was. I believe it was Rich from One Nation Radio. He wrote an article over Junkyard Dog over at Voices of Wrestling, and he kind of put it out plainly. If this dude was in New York, we would have voted him in 10 years ago. If he was selling out a stadium in New York instead of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, no one would blink an eye, right? But because it's the South, we judge it differently, and I don't agree with that. And then my last one may shock a lot of people. It's going to be the Hardy Boys.
Oh, yeah.
And this one was tough to... This one I thought was going to be tough, but the more I looked into the Hardy Boys, the more I think they have an influential case of just a ton of wrestlers, and you see them more and more crop up today, whether it's high-end stars like the Young Bucks, who are, to me, a first ballot Hall of Famer, to even low-end tag teams of today like Private Party. Okay, I'm just naming 2 AEW teams off the top of my head.
Yeah. But they all say that the Hardys were major influences, right?
Right. They all say that tag team was a major influence, and the Hardys did it not just in WWE, but they were able to get over and do kind of industry-changing things wherever they went, right?
Oh.
I mean, you can put whatever amount of stock you want in the Hardy Boys doing the final deletion in TNA, but guess what? That was the hottest TNA was in 10 years.
Yep.
When they did that. In Ring of Honor, they got one of the biggest houses in Ring of Honor with the Young Bucks doing tag team wrestling as main events. What does, I guess, indie or syndicated television wrestling mean to you? I guess that's up to you, but to me, the influential part and their in-ring game is 2 out of 3 categories for me. Did they draw enough money? Well, I mean, they were super popular. They sold a ton of merch. The merch thing, I take that with a grain of salt most of the time, but it is something to look at. And when I'm watching those old WWE shows from the late 90s, early 2000s, the Hardy Boys got kind of Von Erich-like reactions with women audience, and they popped quarter hours on television, especially Jeff Hardy, Matt Hart, and both guys. And this is another aspect I think is underrated. I know we're supposed to look at them as just a tag team, but even when they were broken up, each guys individually were able to flourish in their own separate ways as well. Yeah. And they always came back together to do what they needed to. And I'm really shocked that I am voting for the Hardys the way I am. I'm not sure they're going to stay on the ballot.
Talking about them the way you are.
Right. Well, I mean, I am far from a fan of their like AEW run, but
sure. Well,
even besides that, what? Okay, let me put it this way: I never believe that the end of a person's career in sports impacts what they've done prior, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do we look at, say, Yammer Yager's last 5 years playing like 35 games a year on the Florida Panthers makes him less of a Hall of Famer despite his like multiple MVP level seasons and playing 25 years plus. Right. So why would the Hardys, having kind of a less than stellar and blunderish run in AEW, make me negative on the end of their... It's kind of like Junkyard Dog and Sergeant Slaughter in WWF at the end of their career. Look, they're broken down. Maybe they've done too many drugs. A booking decision didn't go the way they wanted, and then they were on their way out. What about all those years before that? Are we just going to ignore all that because they had like a couple bad years at the end of their career? Look, Karl Malone played for the fucking Los Angeles Lakers as a bum. Like, I don't look at him at any less as a Hall of Famer because of that. At least that's not the reason specifically. But those are my examples. I was very shocked. The more research I did on the Hardy Boys, the more I'm with them than, say, like Becky Lynch, Goldberg, and Ultimate Warrior on various ballots, where they are, to me, flash in the pans of like 12 months on top and then never again kind of situation. Whether it's booking or the promotion flared out or they left the industry. You know, there is some longevity sense to a lot of these things as well that I consider, and that is part of the criteria.
Yeah.
Have you familiarized yourself with the ballot at all, Ricky?
Nope.
Maybe. Okay.
Nope.
Maybe it's something to look forward to in the future.
It now. Yeah.
So we'll be when the ballots come in. I sent mine in. That's what I decided on. And when we get the results, I guess we'll be back to talk about it another time.
All right. I will familiarize myself with the ballot before that for sure.
Yeah, I actually have a tweet I'm going to send you, which has all the candidates, and you can look at it. And we can talk about it off air for a little bit. How about that?
Yeah. Before we wrap things up, he alluded to it, but you didn't outright say why we're not talking about AEW this week.
Oh, well, Jeff Jarrett showed up, so fuck him.
Yeah, okay.
I could not turn Dynamite off fast enough. The second he showed up and the last outlaw, I went, nope, not doing this again, not playing that game.
As a newer fan, I need you to explain this to me. Now, I understand that he is like the cockroach of pro wrestling. He just you can't stop him out, and he just keeps popping up. And yeah, but tell me why this grinds your gears so much.
Oh man, where to begin? Well, maybe it stems from a childhood of my dad doing the Double J dance and mocking me, and no, that's some deep-seated trolling by my dad on that, because he knew I hated this man even when I was a child watching this guy in WWF. Okay. He was a mid-carder then. He's a mid-carder now. He wasn't over, and then he jumped to WCW, and it got real bad.
Right.
Okay. He was.
Was this his fault, or was this the fault of the booking?
Oh no, it's definitely with him, because then he further proved it in TNA, where he started his own company, and he was on top, and he's hitting people with guitars, a ton of interference, cutting the same shitty promo. I'm the chosen one. Slap these nuts. This slap nuts. That. Best buddies with Vince Russo. Just bad decision after bad decision. He's helped kind of tank companies over and over again, or at least embarrass himself and the companies on multiple levels. I mean, shit, he showed up to AAA drunk, throwing tacos at the crowd, like yelling racial slurs. I mean, this was later in his career, but that's like one super embarrassing moment, probably his lowest. But
yeah, that's pretty bad.
People that say he's like this, he's great for, he's got a great mind for the business. I'm like, how? Why? Because he's been around a while? I haven't seen any like tangible evidence of this guy having success. TNA was, if it wasn't for Dixie Carter, TNA would have failed outright because of his blunder and failures as a booker and promoter. WCW, he helped tank that with Vince Russo, and he liked being on top, and he was the chosen one. And I'm watching him do these shit promos and programs in WCW on Nitro right now in the rewatches that you can see
Gotcha.
that are no good. I mean, in the same week that I watched the Vince Russo first WCW Nitro again, on the rewatch, he shows up in AEW. I can't do it twice. So that broke me. Now, I'm tired of watching this guy. I want him, like, we just saw him in AAA this year do a shitty angle with Andrade and company. And it was awful and terrible. And he's the dude needs to go away. He's got a match on now the pay-per-view with Sting, like it's TNA nostalgia. I don't know who has TNA nostalgia for that era. That era was terrible.
I mean, I definitely don't. I didn't watch wrestling then. A lot of AEW fans are new wrestling fans. That match makes no sense to me.
So yeah, Jeff Jarrett, I have negative interest in watching this guy. I never want to, like, if I wasn't so sure AAA was such a mess that Jeff Jarrett would never come back, I would have stopped watching AAA. I enjoy AAA more as the mess and crock shit that it is without Jeff Jarrett. Double J is a plague on this industry. He's King Grifter. That's what he is. I hate it. And all of you will see. You will see what will come. This guy is supposed to be a fucking backstage act. Well, look. Week 1, you're like, oh no, he's not gonna be a main. He's not gonna be a main character. He's only gonna be on there, sometimes he's gonna lead this group, whatever. And he's there for the live events. That's what he's hired for. Well, look, this guy's got a fucking match on pay-per-view, and Ricky Starks can't get on this fucking thing. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get on the card, but FTR, I don't know. Weird build to a pay-per-view for sure. I'm looking forward to this week's Dynamite. We are recording on Monday, so we have a go-home Dynamite and a go-home Rampage. I'm assuming Rampage is live again this week. I don't know for sure. But this is, in the history of AEW, the pay-per-view that I so far have the least amount of interest in leading up to it at this point.
Yeah, there. To me, there has not been a lot of good going on in AEW. I mean, Jeff Jarrett's like the icing on the cake to it all. That was the final straw.
Definitely. I mean, the major problem with AEW right now is it's half Ring of Honor and half AEW. And
I don't
it
even see that as the issue. I just don't like the people being pushed.
But there's so many belts. There's not enough. There's too many stories in some way. They're veering towards sports entertainment and away from the ranking system and the sports-based merit. I'm okay. The ranking system had flaws. I'm not saying it was perfect, but there needs to be more emphasis on wins and losses. Again, it's the AEW of the past 6 months, maybe longer, is not the AEW that we are used to. So I don't know.
I feel you in that. I guess we'll, I'll watch Full Gear. I'm not watching that Jeff Jarrett match. That's bathroom break. You kidding me? My God.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. I don't get it either. But
I hope he doesn't come out first, because God, that music just nails on a chalkboard. It's like what? It's like listening to a Nanai Takahashi match. Anyways, Ricky, we're almost 2 hours into this. We haven't recorded this long in a while, but
what did we even talk about?
We talked about a lot of things. At least I did.
You did.
But all right, I
had fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. I guess we'll reconvene in a couple weeks.
Okay, sounds good.
Later. It's Joshi Wrestling Talk time, November 1st to the 15th. So here we go, guys. I'm going to try to do this as quick and painless as possible, but I do have a lot of thoughts over kind of what's going on in the indie scene right now, and then we'll get into the more important topic at hand, which is the continuation of what Stardom is doing in 2022. So what you heard there was Nagisa Nozaki's music, and there's kind of a decent reason for that, at least in my mind. We'll get to that in a second. We begin with Ice Ribbon, November 5th. Haven't heard about Ice Ribbon in forever. Well, there was an Ice Infinity title match that happened. Don't worry about the attendance. They're not drawing anything over 200 anytime soon. Sariano defeats Nao Ishikawa, a 17.5-minute match. I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed the time that it went. It's very good for Nao Ishikawa to get this kind of opportunity to see what she can do and what she's capable of. I thought certainly she's not ready for the main event, at least in terms of in-ring. But the bigger topic regarding this match is more or less kind of about Nao Ishikawa, where heading into this, no real momentum, no real big wins to her name. It is nice that she's getting a title match, but there needs to be, and this lacks in a lot of the Joshi scene, is there needs to be the reason, or at least momentum, why this person is getting a title match. I don't ask for a whole lot. It just gets you behind the wrestler, and then you have a journey you can follow with them. I think one of the bigger examples are a lot of the mid-carders and upper mid-carders in Stardom, where you kind of look at these title matches that they get, whether it's tag or singles, and there's always something of a reason to at least why they're getting that shot. Whether you believe that they have a chance in hell in winning the title kind of isn't the point I'm making here. Pro Wrestling Eve. I know it's not Joshi, but look, they got their claws in TJPW. They got their claws in Marvelous. There's a lot of quid pro quo going on here. And Eve over the weekend on the 13th and 14th, particularly on the 13th, they ran 2 shows, afternoon and evening shows of Wrestle Queendom. Boy, did things happen that you just really scratch your head at. YUU, the current Pure J champion, if you had forgotten, went to a double title match against Laura Di Matteo. Di Matteo is the international champion, which is interesting because Alex Windsor went for that title while the She Won happened, I believe, and she went for that, and then they changed their mind. And the point is, we got to this point where it's Di Matteo against you for each other's titles. The match went a meager 8 minutes and 44 seconds, like it's a match on AEW Dark. And yes, I did watch these matches that I am talking about here. This time frame for a double title match amused me because it was kind of nothing. It just kind of happened and you wins. There you go. She's double champion. Rin Katakura defeats Maria in 9 minutes. I think this tells me more so where Maria is in the pecking order in Marvelous. And let's be honest here. Hey, I may be a Rin Katakura fan. I really wish she was doing a lot more in wrestling. She's busy getting married and having the time of her life, being now related to Akira Hokuto. Not enough of that star power could rub off on her, but she is no pushed commodity of any form whatsoever. She will be this perennial tag wrestler, winning these indie titles and kind of putzing around. Well, Maria lost to her 9 minutes. Who knows when they will trade a fall the other direction. So, Miyu Yamashita and Millie McKenzie had a match in RCW in Barcelona. And Maya was there too. I liked the match. I did like what Maya brought against Sandra Leone, who is, she's a good prospect, guys. I would say the Maya-Sandra Leone match is something to look into. And tell me what you think. Hit me up in the Discord, Redleaf Retrocast. Hit me up on Twitter, AppleandJD, if you want in the Discord. But that's a match worth seeking out, while the Millie McKenzie Miyu Yamashita match is more or less a beat-for-beat kind of TV match again. Little indie TV match. Millie McKenzie can hit some Germans, and Miyu Yamashita hits, well, her hits. But Millie beat her in Barcelona, so here they're in Eve, and Miyu Yamashita gets the win. They're very similar matches. So they go 1-1 in their series, and this will lead to a match at Corkin later this month in TJPW. More on that in a second. By the way, none of these matches are, recommendable. And then Alex Windsor in the main event. Eve title on the line against Jeddah, the champion. This actually got some time. It went 14 minutes. Jeddah is horrendous. She is... The crowd likes her, but let's not pretend she's any sort of good wrestler. It's pretty ridiculous. But Alex Windsor beats her, thank God. Did not need to go 14 minutes, but in my opinion, you got to make your titles feel important, and time allotted for a main event is important in itself, and it brings a little, depending on how you present it, brings credibility to the title. If that makes sense. That was the afternoon show. So you go, wait a minute. The evening shows are always bigger. Aha, haha, yes. Yes, indeed. And things happened. So, Yu defeats Rin Katakura in 9 minutes to retain just the international title. Pure J title not on the line. I don't know why you just wouldn't do them both, but whatever. Especially if Yu was just winning anyways. Eve title match. Yes, another title match. Okay, Alex Windsor's defending the title for the first time against Miyu Yamashita. And she loses. Miyu Yamashita is the new Eve champion. Not making this up. It was a 15-minute match. This was good. I would say this is the match to go out of your way and see. I'm going like 1 out of 3 on it. I wasn't too crazy about it. It definitely didn't hit like. Look, the Eve environment is really hard. It's really hard to get into. The camera work, the commentary is horrible. I've been through that many times. You get the idea. But why did Miyu Yamashita win the Eve title when the story kind of all year in Eve is about Alex Windsor? Going for the international title, having that little Laura Di Matteo thing. She won. She got the Eve title finally, here in November, and then just that night already lost it. So I better get some word that she's like moving to Tokyo and she's like joining TJPW full time, or AEW was like, oh shit, pick her up and she's moving to Jacksonville, because otherwise I don't know what the fuck is going on here. But anyways, this wasn't even the main event. The main event was an Eve tag team title shot against The Uprising, Rio O'Reilly and Sky Smithson. So at least the good wrestler was in this thing, and they were against the Royal Aces defending their titles, Charlie Morgan and Jetta, back-to-back main events. 6 minutes 53 seconds of just bad wrestling. So 1, thank God it only went 6 minutes. And 2, hilarious that it only went 6 minutes. Just proves that they don't really have the confidence to put on another long match involving basically these wrestlers involved here, namely Rio O'Reilly and Jetta. Pretty bad stuff here. So what do all these confusing and baffling results mean for Eve and TJPW? Well, for Marvelous, it's business as usual with no plan. But as for TJPW, they have a Korakuen Hall show on November 27th. And here's what's happening in TJPW. They debuted Himawari, a former Cool Outfit looking chick that wrestled like 2 weeks in Actors Girls. So hey, they got a rookie prospect incoming, so we don't have to worry about her winning anything for like 2 years, including a match. But good for them for actually signing somebody. It's about fucking time they do something like that. The tag title match was announced. It's Saki Akai and Yuki Arai against Yuki Aino and Raku. Okay. Not for me. Miyu Yamashita is facing Millie McKenzie for the Eve title. And then in the main event, it's Yuka Sakazaki versus Billy Starks for the Pop title. Now, in a vacuum, this is fine, right? Don't really have much issue with... Well, I have an issue with Raku in any sort of title match of any capacity. But when people in the Discord and myself are talking and we reference kind of what TJPW is doing as pre-Bushi Road Stardom with all the Gaijins, and now Gaijins are in main events and going for title matches... And again, in a vacuum, this is fine. The problem I have a bigger deal with is these are taking spots up from your regular roster members, okay? It's very hard to elevate people when you don't give them chances. It's also ice-cold matchups for even the domestic audience. How many people are going to be actually into Millie McKenzie or Billy Starks? People that are going for the titles that they've never really seen wrestle in their own promotion before. You need to get these people over on more than just a week or two tour. They need to be there for like 2 months. And you build them up, and maybe they go away for like a month or so, and they come back, and when they come back that second time, that's when you give them like a little title matches. And it's not asking for a whole lot. Look, these are wrestlers. They know the deal. You want to try to make it? You got to do your time. Like, you got to go on tour, baby. Like, I did my time in the oil field, and guess what? I went on tour for 6-8 weeks on end without being at home. So don't talk to me about tough schedules. We all have a debt we have to pay when you want to get the job done. But it's also up to the promotion to book wrestlers and familiarize them with the audience. Yes, the internet exists, but as we've seen in many promotions across, that It's fine if you're doing like undercard. The wrestlers have to learn, some time with the audience, and then when you get the main events, it doesn't really feel like they're like taking up a spot from someone. They're part of the crew. Let's see. Moving on. The show's going to be half capacity, so get that 700 number. But man, what do you make all of this? It's, yeah. Speaking of gaijins coming back to Japan, Sendai is gearing up for two big shows. I'll put that in quotes. November 20th Korakuen card announced. Yurika Oka and Inaba for the 60th time. Iger and Hirota, Be Still My Heart. Trios match Mizunami Takase and Millie McKenzie. She's coming over back to Sendai, at least. I wonder how much audience like stuck around for Sendai and they remember Millie McKenzie. That's one. Anyways, they're against Aja Kong, Hiroyo Matsumoto, and Nita Samuels. Sure, I guess. I mean, Manami against Kohaku. If not for the Banshee gimmick, I'd be really into this one, but Manami aggravates me to no end. Miko Wada against the Ice Ribbon champion Saori Anou. This could be good, but we kind of know where it's going. Dash and Kodaka versus Veni and Jun Kasai, so your plunder offer match. It's whatever. And I believe it'd probably be the main event. Chihiro and Yu against Unagi with a mystery partner. Interesting. Okay. I'll pay attention to the news of this, but as for like watching any of this, unless someone really goes, "Hey, JD, gotta watch some of this Sendai show. Here's why." Probably gonna skip this one. Then the next Korakuen Sendai is doing is yet again Chihiro versus Veni for the title, and Miko Wada's been on this roster 7 years and she's never had a shot. That's like, it's shit like that. That drives me insane. Speaking of, Aroha is busted up again. She vacated the Marv title. So they're going to have a one-day tournament, just like Seed. And the big thing to kind of keep your eye on there is basically we'll see if they make the same choice as Seed, or will they actually elevate someone in, or give them chances to elevate someone in the absence of Aroha. Wave is coming off their putrid October 24th Korakuen number, getting 201 people. They followed up 2 weeks later on November 6th with another Korakuen getting 351 in attendance. It is their, I believe, third highest attendance show this year, so it's definitely better. The notable news and matches is Veni was on the show for the first time in ages. Looks like Wave is kind of dropping their kind of made-up rules of freelancers coming in, but match to look out for is Veni versus Risa Serra. They, of course, went to a 15-minute time draw because that's what Wave does. Look, if these things like ever led to anything, I'd feel completely different about all this. Like, maybe they go 2 draws in a row, and on the third one, someone wins, and then they go for the title after that. But this shit never happens in Wave or any of these promotions. It's very meaningless. It's just kill time on the card kind of stuff. But the match, is fine. It was fine. The main event was Hikaru Shida defending the Wave title against Yuki Miyazaki. 22 minutes, 31 seconds. This match could never end. There was 2 big pops in the match. One was near the beginning when Hikaru Shida is punking out Miyazaki all over Korakuen, and then she gets to the desk, picks up the Wave title, and puts it in front of the currently injured Nagisa Nozaki's face, and you actually hear the crowd go, "Ooh!" So that was the second biggest pop of the night in that match. The biggest one was Shida doing a big suplex from the apron to the floor on Miyazaki. Besides that, this match I thought was pretty ass. Yuki Miyazaki has a lot of trouble moving. They relied on a ref bump like 8 minutes into this thing. It's just so Yuki Miyazaki could get all the plunder involved and do a little hardcore goofy match. Hikaru Shida worked her ass off being a bit of a bully and just trying to be, the invader kind of act. And she worked real hard, but the competition was not there, and she retains. So, pretty bad. Not great. Would not recommend. Those are your Indie Joshi catch-ups. There's a lot to go over with Stardom. So here we go. Okay, previewing Stardom's huge weekend ahead, among other things. Let me pull this sucker up here, because there we go. Redirecting. Okay. Gold Rush is on November 19th. So we're in the middle. I do want to say we're in the middle of Tag League. I'll get to that in a second. So we have some Tag League shows. And then on this weekend of the 19th and 20th, we got Gold Rush on the 19th and Historic X-Over on the 20th. So Gold Rush, we see Himeka and Maika against Nanai and Yu. I expect Himeka and Maika to lose. I do. Black Desire takes on I Love Tokyo Sports. Should be a okay affair. And then we have the Money Ball. Okay, the Moneyball competition, we see a couple trios teams go at it. It's Julia Tekla, Mai Sakurai, taking on Tam, Poi, and Waka. Probably expect Waka to lose now. I think there might be a little change in plans, because if Mina was involved, I would have had to give Cosmic Angels a big edge here. But now that Waka's thrown into this, I really think that she's going to lose. And then on the other end, the other match, it's God's Eye against Stars. Mayu Iwatani, Koguma Hazuki taking on Mirai, Sorei, and Inaba. Really pulling for the God's Eye team here. God's Eye against DDM, I think, has a lot of legs to it. I think there's something to do there. But there's a ladder involved. I do not count out Stars, especially Mayu and Koguma, to do some goofy shit off the top of that thing. And the upper half of this card is pretty impressive. It's Momoko Honozono taking on Azumi for the high-speed title. Look, I do not like the bubble gimmick at all, but if you remember on this podcast many moons ago, when I saw a random Collega Pro show, Momoko Honozono was on there, and I went, she's got potential. And there's a lot of people pretty high on her wrestling, even if the gimmick is pretty awful. It's very undercard. So this could be a pretty damn good match, considering. Wonder of Stardom Championship, we're getting it. The run in a back. Since we missed out on it prior, it's Kairi and Saya Kamatani. I feel the story is about Kairi winning this title from Saya because of all the promos and all the gears towards this. A lot of it is telling me Kairi's going to win this thing and then lose to Mayu for the IWGP title. I don't think that Kairi is going to win both. I think that's the least likely outcome. They could do a scenario where Kairi just loses both these matches over the weekend against Saya and Mayu and really puts over this current crop, because she's not a full-time wrestler. And I wouldn't put it past Hatman to kind of just say, look, you're part-time. You're not going to be here very often. Put over my current stars. Kind of deal. We'll find out. I hope this match is good. World of Stardom title, Shuri against Utami. Let's go. I don't need to go into that one. And then the TLC match for the Money Ball. Got those two winners from the earlier matches on the card. They have a TLC match, and they have to hit a button to kind of lower the Money Ball, and then they can climb and get it. interesting mechanic. We'll see how this works. They definitely like doing these things in Osaka prior, annually. I'm curious how much this show draws, especially on such a huge weekend. It feels like a very Stardom show. Not from like 2022, but more kind of like 2018 kind of deal. A lot of this definitely feels like it's thought of by the wrestlers themselves. And we got some oblige from Hatman here. So, running through the historic crossover show, we're going to just run through the card. Got a Stardom Rumble. We got a Young Lion 8-man tag match. And the guy I want to talk about the most here is Oscar Lube. Okay? He was in WXW for a good amount of time during the pandemic. He is like, I think he's like 6'8". He's a massive German. Let's see. Yeah, he's 6'7", 240. Comes out of Fale's dojo. He was super impressive in WXW with his limited experience. And it would not shock me if they do something special with Oscar Lube coming into this match and coming out. Maybe he'll even get a win here. I mean, someone does. I kind of lean that Coughlin, Connors, or Gabriel Kidd are the favorites to get a winning fall in this, but I'm not putting past them to go, Oscar Lube, you're pinning Kevin Knight kind of deal. There's a Chaos offer match. There's a Queen's Quest versus DDM offer match. And then we get into the fun stuff. Shuri and Tom Lawler against Julia and Zack Sabre Jr. Should be interesting if Shuri gets a big kick on ZSJ, or Julia just goes up to Tom Lawler and slaps the shit out of him. We get the mixed 8-man tag of Black Desire, Suzuki-gun against Meltier and the other Suzuki-gun team of Taichi and Kanemaru. They've been doing a lot of fun interactions between these teams. Tam and Taichi messing around. They got like wacky histories as well. We all know Starlight Kid and Desperado's little connection there. So fun stuff. I can't wait to see what this match entails. Tanahashi is with Utami taking on Goto and Maika, so team training under the waterfall to lose is my expectation. Very amusing match for me. We have an LIJ versus United Empire offer match. We have a Chaos versus United Empire offer match. This one includes Yano, Okada, and the Great Muta taking on Okan, Hanari, and Cobb. So third from the top there. Getting Muta, like the whole purpose of the show is to highlight Stardom with New Japan talent and get as many wrestling fan eyeballs as they possibly can on this. And whether I like him or not, fucking Keiji Muto here is a huge star. He always has been. And he is on his retirement road, garnering a lot of attention. So him coming on this card for one of his last New Japan matches is kind of a big deal. Will Ospreay takes on Shota Umino. What's interesting is Umino has called out if he wins this title, he's going to challenge Naito for the title at the Dome. Interesting, right? Because everyone's kind of assuming that it's going to be like Ospreay against Omega at the Dome. I mean, there's nothing stopping them from saying, okay, Omega can't make it, Ospreay Naito again for the U.S. title. They could easily do that. That's not a big deal. But if Umino does it, then that goes into this youth movement that they want to do. The hesitation I have with that is this is Will Ospreay. He's basically the number 2 guy in the promotion right now. Yeah, I would say. Okada, Ospreay, and then Jay White, even though Jay White is the current champion. I'm not like saying Umino doesn't have a shot, but it's interesting. And then the main event is Mayu versus Kairi. The money says Mayu should win, and the story of Mayu saying she wants to concentrate on the title, she relinquished the SWA title, she has the movie coming out. She's certainly a bigger star to domestic fans of Stardom. And she has probably more relevant relevant fans in the United States for Mayu. Kairi has a name, but I'm not so sure it's bigger than Mayu Iwatani. Kairi's, people forget, Kairi's kind of been out of the game for a little while, including in Stardom, and a lot's changed. And one of my major arguments is, for these shows that are going to be happening in the United States, the fans that are probably most aware of Kairi aren't buying these tickets. And that's the WWE fans. It's fans of Stardom, it's fans of New Japan, and Mayu Iwatani is definitely more synonymous with these promotions currently. Okay, Tag League. My overall thoughts over Tag League is, when you look at the house shows and these cards that they're putting out right now, when you put them, when you kind of lay them out and you go, okay, it's like God's Eye or a Karate Brave against Melt here. You're like, okay, I'm gonna watch that. Black Desire against, I don't know, Mahime, or these kinds of matchups. Mafia Bella against who'd they face? I think it was Mafia Bella against Black Desire, right? Yeah, anyways, the like heavy matchups, the heavy hitters, like you watch those, and then when you get to a team like We Love Tokyo Sports, or now the Waka and all caps Saki team, like you skip those. And there's this weird thing happening in Tag League behind the two teams. It's Nanai and Yu, which is this outsider OG Stardom type group where they're being booked to either beat teams of credibility so they gain it, or they go to a draw. When or if they take the first fall is going to be interesting. And then on the flip side, with this Tora Ruaka team, they're either beating teams of credibility or they're just DQing themselves. So they're not just straight up losing. It's that obnoxious booking that I'm talking about when it comes to booking these in the Nanai's case, outsiders, and then in the Tora case, it's like right back to where we were 18 months ago with this woman. And I just don't get her getting these wins. But I'll get to her match here in a second. But let's get on to this Hiroshima Goddess Festival card. This was a show I was really looking forward to. It took place at the Hiroshima Sun Plaza on November 3rd. They got 1,045 people there. For a little context, New Japan got 1,500 on both days of the G1 for a comparison. So you're only about 450 people off there. Not bad. Noah only got 700, and Dragongate runs Hiroshima quite a bit, and their highest in 2022 is 413. So Stardom getting these upper numbers is a good sign. Stardom is up from the 608 they got in the 5-star, which is a point I made on the audio covering the 5-star in that very show, and I was looking for them to break 1,000. That was the bar to break to call this show a success in Hiroshima, and they did that. I can't wait for them to do future shows in Hiroshima kind of like this. I like this card that I saw. I like the show overall. This Hiroshima show really exceeded my expectations a lot of way. Unfortunately, a certain incident happens, and we'll get to that really took a lot of the buzz away from what I thought was a good, solid card in an in-between. They're hitting a new market. They want to make it count. And for a fandom's perspective, we just got out of the 5-star, a little tag leagues kicking off. How can we mix these things in? And we got some title matches along the way to kind of keep your buzz and interest in the promotion going. And we got some cool matches out of this card. So I'm skipping straight to the Himeka Unamizumori match, 7 minutes, 41 seconds. Good, solid action. I could definitely use without the terrible singing on her way to the ring from the Pineapple Girl. Look, this gimmick and look has got to go. It's just straight geekdom. It's very indie. It needs an overhaul because now you've been called up to the major leagues, Yuna Mizumori. Let's change some things, but man, was she taking those lariats and swinging them right. This was a good Himika match, and this is definitely playing into her strengths. Unfortunately for Yuna Mizumori, she tore her meniscus on some other show or whatever, and she'll be out probably 8 weeks, I would imagine. So that's unfortunate. Hopefully she comes back with a new gimmick, but I seriously doubt it. Utami defeated Natsuko Tora. This went almost 13 minutes. I've seen a lot of roses being thrown at this match, and I just don't see it. I do agree that this is like Natsuko Tora's best match in years, but guys, that bar was so low, and I'm looking at this match going, yes, it's perfectly fine, but holy hell did nothing happen. Natsuko Tora comes out. She's basically like a Halloween character, pretending to be a wrestler with her weird contacts, her stature. She has no star power at all. She has no aura. She's an obnoxious DQ machine. Her moveset is very bland and boring. She does some sentons. She has a spear. She has a DVD. That's her offense. She's not tall enough for a power game. She's not jacked enough for a strength game. She's not fast enough for a speed game. So who is she? Who is Natsuko Tora? Well, she loses to Utami. I was really hoping this was going to be like 6 minutes, and we actually heat Utami up real hard, as this revenge match was more about Utami getting the win that she should have had clean over Tora last year. But anyways, look, Utami went through a table with a frog splash, and that was cool. And once that happened, she put her in the dirt immediately. There was a 15-minute draw between a DDM trio and the God's Eye trio, a cool God's Eye trio of Ami Sourei, Mirai, and Konami. And I would say the Julia and Tekla mix-ups with Konami was very fun. That was super enjoyable, and it really gets me thinking that Julia's winning this world title, and on a show like this, maybe in January, maybe V1 is going to be Julia against Konami, and I'd be actually super into that. I think Julia and God's Eye version Konami, really concentrating on a more striking game than submission that she really liked doing, is interesting. And the match was pretty fire most of the time. I think I went 1 or 2 out of 3 out of this for that match. Mayu Iwatani defended the SWE title against Alpha Female in a long 11 minutes. This was slightly better than the Kairi match, and that's because I think Mayu is a better wrestler, a better seller, and a better babyface in this current iteration. Alpha Female still can't move. She's stuck more to clubs instead of moving. There was still some falsehoods there behind Alpha Female, but weird thing happened at the end of the match where Mayu has to hit like 4 moonsaults on this woman, and then she just she does lay there for about 2 seconds, and then she immediately rolls out of the ring. She's on her feet, and she just kind of flips her off and walks to the back. Kind of a big league no-sell there. I don't really agree with that, Alpha Female. You're really getting on my nerves with that one. I hope this is the end of her. I hope that she came in just for these couple appearances, for like one last ride, a thank you, how you doing? Here's your hot dog and a handshake, go away. It's very harmless, but honestly, didn't get anything out of it, and I guess it saved a temporary roster spot from someone having to eat a fall directly to Mayu, and you can build those matches up later. Guess that's the idea. Not sure I would have used Alpha Female for this role, but they like their kayfabe credibility behind her. So I'm spending way too much time on this match. Goddesses of Stardom title match. Meltier against Black Desire. Loved it. 15 minutes, 22 seconds. I was just shy of the full 3. It was definitely very close there. the Natsupoi Tam Nakano combo. Look, they're going straight beauty pair. That's what we're doing here. I mean, shit, they showed up at a Bushi Road anniversary event with Kadani, and they did their whole singing. That's, like, if you're going to... And it's such a Rossy Ogawa move. It's such a move where you have two motivated people that's into performing like singers and try to hit some sort of pop culture chord that like there's the connections are there now. Go for it. Why not? It's different levels of marketing. And in Japan, it's definitely to an audience that you have a good chance of bringing them into future Stardom shows. It's a new audience and new technique. I do agree with moves like this, and it's honestly it's kind of cool. It's a big throwback to what women's wrestling used to be, which is funny enough. And the match had all the great interactions. Like, you put it in your head. There was a little too many, I would say, AJW kickouts where it just gets the last 5-minute stretch of huge move, person barely breaks it up in the end. The format needs a little mixing up and a little change, I will say. Saya Kamitani retains the Wonder title over Mina Shirakawa, 20 minutes, 35 seconds. We're back to these big matches, and I do love this. This match felt very huge because Mina Shirakawa was cutting promos like Bret Hart, being serious that this business means a lot to her. And just like Bret Hart, after the post-match, she cuts the promo of her life. And look, yeah, botched 2 Phoenix splashes, bust Mina's 2 bottom teeth, made them all crooked, and she's going to have retainer and braces to fix those things. And she messed up her jaw real bad because she took a fucking spinning heel kick like out of Street Fighter right onto her mouth. And, it's an AJW thing where they are taught that if your move doesn't look good, go up, try it again, because you don't want the move to look weak to make your opponent look weak for eating the pin like that. And Mina, I mean, you could look at this in like 2 ways. Mina took this boot to the face, and in her just shock and pain, she instinctively just kind of kicks out. And thank God for Daichi, pro of pros, just goes 3. Or Mina was also in that same frame of mind. You missed, hit something different. I'm kicking out, even though I am messed up. As for the match, okay, look, botches happen, things happen in wrestling. I can't, but I've seen Saya miss the Phoenix Splash, as in she lands mostly on the legs, which is, okay, no big deal. This is the first time I would say she's crooked to the face. She usually does a much better job of that. I mean, the move we see most people miss more often is the moonsault, where it's like knees going into the face, or they overshoot them and it's like barely the arms and head on them. Like, that's the move people miss the most because you're actually going backwards and everything. But look, the Phoenix Splash is a very tough move to make. I mean, how many people in your lifetimes pull this out? There's Ibushi, Hayabusa the Inventor, and what? Tyler Black, Seth Rollins, once a year. And and when people do Phoenix Splash, they generally miss them. People roll out of the way and then they land on their feet and then they do the forward roll. The match I thought was excellent. It was a huge Mina Shirakawa coming out party. She came across like a huge industry star with a big robe. She's got so much appeal to her, and she treats this industry so seriously. She treats it as utilizing her sex appeal. She's very confident in her looks. She's very confident in how she can make money and market herself. And then she clearly has a drive to get better and better and be a pro wrestler. And her transformation over the last few years has just been so great to see. And a match like this is kind of a culmination of that, where she's developed a style where she's going after knees, she's doing leg work, she's really put over the figure four as something of a killer move, got some good reactions there. She's got multiple implant DDT variations to put people away. You know, they're not the most flashy moves in the world, but she's, like, if you told me she was watching clips of Bret Hart, Ric Flair, and, like, how to put over these simple moves, and then she's just putting her own flair on them, I'd believe you. Because it sure comes across like she's doing a lot of old school stuff that's really cool. She's sticking to what works, and her working Saya's leg and grounding her and really getting that over, and then Saya selling like the top rope DDT where she plants herself like Pac and spinning over. You know, it got me to bite at least once, and that's the job. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This was a 3 out of 3 before the finish. It just can't really go higher than like 4 stars. Catch my drift there. And then the main event. So I've heard a lot of varying degrees of satisfaction and disappointment in the main event between Shuri and Micah. I do understand where some people are coming from, where there was a serious lack of emotion in the main event, and a tough draw for people to buy into Micah as a person who could seemingly win the title now. I also think the crowd was really taken out of the main event because of what they just witnessed in the semi-main. They just watched Mina Shirakawa get her face crushed. And now it's like, okay, World of Stardom title, here we go. You always see it whenever there's a scary injury on any sort of wrestling show. The matches that, especially the match that comes directly after, people are distracted, people are worried, people are kind of in shock of what they've witnessed. So I think that's what happened a lot with this main event. In my eyes, like, I took a break. I was like, okay, I gotta like calm down after seeing Mina not win the title. It was a very devastating moment for me personally. Bret Hart should win these titles. Maybe she should have paid off the ref. 25th anniversary Montreal Screwjob type stuff there, except make it in her favor this time. So I took a break, came back, and Micah exudes star. She does. But she's still missing a key element. And it was definitely visible in this match, as in visible in the sense that you know something's missing. And it finally clicked for me with what is it about Micah matches? Because the ring work is good. The moves are good. The execution is great. And for Micah, it's the ability to draw out her own emotion in her matches. So if you notice, Shuri, she's screaming for kicks. Kid, shouts of desperation. Saya Kamatani screaming with the legs getting worked. Micah, she's utterly silent. And it's interesting to me because it got me thinking of interviews from like Tsukasa Fujimoto and Io Shirai and the like, where they talk about their training and they're taking forearms. It's like, you got to make sure when you're in that ring and you look up at the back of Korakuen Hall that person can hear you in the ring. And Micah during these matches is an utter silent mute. She's got good facial expressions. She's a good seller, as in like the body language. Like, that's all there. But she's not vocal. And that's a huge thing missing from her matches. Now, Shuri, her matches are inducive of a little too much mat game, and yes, there's a lot of credibility to her, but it's for me, it's tough to get into Shuri at a like super high peak. You know, like, she can get there. We've seen it. We've seen it with the Momo and the 5-star. We've seen it with Utami countless times. She needs someone to bounce off with for that fire, and that's when the best of Shuri comes out. It's just very hard to reach that. This match, Like, if you put on a podcast, probably Red Leaf Retrocast, as I know, and you're watching this match, and you're just seeing the moves get executed, and I think that tremendously helps when you're watching this, because they did so much in this match to try to get you to believe Micah had a chance. And they did a lot of that with really executing new moves Micah's never busted out before. She did like the fisherman hook spinning driver, which was weird. She does like a release suplex for a near fall. She's hitting Michinoku drivers like she did in the 5-star to dirt opponents. So this certainly did not lack of effort in trying new things to get you to bite. And me being a Micah fan, I will admit I bit multiple times, but I'm a much easier person to please in terms of, obviously my favorite wrestlers. I'm into Micah. I will always be into her. She's my KZ of this promotion. Maybe it'll never be Money Micah time, but let me believe. Shuri puts her away with the one-winged angel flip thing. I don't know, Phoenix Driver, whatever it's called. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but I thought this match was fantastic. I went full 3 on this one easily. I thought this was the best match of the show. It just lacked that outward emotion. And I think that had a lot to do with Micah in this match. And that will do it. I'm looking forward to a lot of Stardom. And that will do it for now. Get into some retro. Here we go. All Japan Women Destiny time. We're on our next episode here, and our journey through the classics take us into something that isn't on the classics. It is September 29th, 1993. It is part of the Nagoya Super Whirlwing Tour. It is Zenjo. It is AJW versus LLPW. Total opposition war from Nagoya Aichi Prefectural Gymnasium. Announced attendance of 4,800, but only 3,000 paid in this 11.5 seat arena. And this is all according to the Observer. So this only sold basically a fourth of what they needed to, seat wise or paid wise, and then little under half of what the capacity is. And from the October 11th, 1993 Wrestling Observer newsletter, from one Big Dave Meltzer, the moral of the story is that All Japan Women isn't strong enough to run big arenas for so-called major shows without hot lineups. The previous 3 big shows all either sold out or came close to selling out. The big buildings had far stronger lineups, which seems to be the key, rather than just simply pushing something as a big show. All Japan Women have yet another major show on October 9th at Tokyo Bay NK Hall, which is the traditional Wrestle Marine Piad show, with Hokuto challenging for Aja Kong's world title in the main event. Hokuto at the Nagoya show did announce she was accepting the challenge of Rumi Kazuma on November 9th in Tokyo on an LLPW card, hair versus hair. LLPW has come under much criticism for charging $143 for ringside for this show. Kind of funny considering that, it's kind of cheap these days for a lot of these tickets. I did cover the hair versus hair match and that show on the Patreon, patreon.com/redleafretrocast. So you can go listen to that on the Patreon. It was a very interesting show in what happened there between Rumi and Akira Hokuto. My own note from covering that particular LBW show on the Patreon is, while the attended sellout of 4,500 is likely inflated, LLPW sold the show well anyways, so my personal morale is the criticism for high ticket prices, while warranted. People want to see something, then they will find a way to go and to pay for it. I also want to note that it was during the week in early October, NJPW put Cork and Hall season tickets on for $19.94 on sale. And they sold very well immediately. So I thought that was an interesting note I was able to find. And more to note is they are running 12 Cork and Hall shows in 1994, seemingly once a month, much like, say, Stardom and Dragongate do today. AJW sees Corkin as something important, but want to continue to run bigger shows outside of the hall, which I agree with completely. However, as Meltzer noted in his moral of the story, little paragraph there, simply saying a show is big or a crossover just isn't enough to sell out these buildings. And this, obviously, this card we're about to go to is a good example of that. Shinobu Kandori against Yumiko Hotta in the main event for nothing on the line other than kind of promotional bragging rights isn't enough for myself to care when what's the end game kind of situation. It's just one-off shows. And kind of it's like when you think about it, it's almost like a blueprint for much of the Joshi scene, indie scene specifically, over the many years. Let's get into the show, shall we? AJW versus LLPW, Total Opposition War. We get opening ceremonies with the intros and whatnot. Then at the end of this thing, Rumi Kazuma gets in the ring, gets on this mic, calls out Akira Hokuto, whom comes out with a crutch because, she just had knee surgery recently. And, everything Akira Hokuto says draws a huge reaction from the crowd. She gets everyone worked up to the point where you see Mima Shimoda attacking Yasha Kurenai, and suddenly everyone dives in and starts a massive brawl. And somewhere in the middle of all this, Kandori and Hotta go at it hard. They go hard blows, where Hotta gets busted open hard way, and that ended up giving the main event a lot more juice, if you ask me. And as a recap, back at Legacy of Queens from August 25th, Akira Hokuto retained the All-Pacific title, beating Rumi Kazuma with the Northern Lights Bomb. Hokuto is, of course, working with a busted back and blown-out knee, while Kazuma herself is working with a messed-up back, suffering an injury back on the LLPW June 15th show at Oda, where LCO was playing into that feud. I recommend listening to that audio, again, over on the Patreon. Go do it. Opener, Carol Midori and Michiko Nagashima, the LLPW duo, defeat Chaprita Asari and Chikako Shiratori, 11 minutes, 20 seconds. The rookies have come to play and trying to do what they can, because, oh my god. Michiko sleeps on a running slingshot headlock takeover. Asari falls short on her cartwheel handspring mule kick. Both repeat these spots. Midori doesn't botch anything, so good for her. Asari hits the Sky Twister press, but the LLPW girls hit her in the head with a Doomsday device, and then a German spinning splash deal ends it for Carol Midori getting the pin. 11 minutes, 21 seconds. This was a rough one, folks. Holy hell. But Asari is getting super over hitting the Sky Twister press. Like, that's her whole gimmick here. And if you've forgotten, she's super tiny, and there used to be a height rule in AJW. And, well, I mean, we're talking about Rossi Ogawa here. He's really convincing the higher-ups with his wrestling mind to change a lot of these rules. And Asari got the benefit of it. You know, why are we having height limits? We don't have as many people coming into the promotion for tryouts as we used to. Now we have competition between JWP and LLPW. FMW has a little women's division that they're starting up. You know, you can't just be cutting people at 25 and turning people away at the door when that could be a talent that the competition's going to get. AJW junior title on the line. How Numachi got this thing, I have no idea what a decision that is, but Mizuki Endo, another, wise decision, put her in a match. This went 10 minutes, 29 seconds. It's bad, guys. It was bad. It's arguably the worst wrestlers on either on a title match on this pay-per-view type deal. Yikes. Endo wins. LCO, Mita and Shimoda defeat Infernal Kaoru and Tomoko Watanabe. 13 minutes. Kaoru, she was only in this ring for like 3 minutes, and she gets knocked off the apron a few times. Tomoko takes a missile dropkick from Shimoda. Mita hits the best Death Valley driver you will ever see, and that's how they win. Look, guys, we're kind of getting used to this. It's a standard LCO match at this point. We should definitely take note of this going forward. How much do they expand on their tandem here? But people are exploding for Mita now at the end since the Grand Prix, and she debuted that Death Valley driver. That's what's getting her over. Maybe 13 minutes was a little long for this, but I would have definitely liked to see more Kaoru going on here. Japanese tag titles. Ito and Saki Hasegawa retain over Ryo Kitamura and Mikiko Futagami. 16 minutes, 30 seconds. Oh my god. So if you're following along on the LLPW journey, which is on the Patreon in case you have forgotten and I haven't told you enough, we know what to expect. And yes, lots of mat grappling from the LLPW duo. Very boring. Ito is totally out of her element, to no shock. Like, she cannot do mat wrestling. Hasegawa, however, at least matches up, and then she goes to work. Hot finish sees Hasegawa fire up. She hits the big spin kick. She hits 2 Uranagis that win the match as Ito double stomps on the outside. Hasegawa, man, like, she's working hurt too with a pretty bad back these days, or much like the rest of the roster, but she just continues to get better and better. She is the fire of these undercards and midcards. It's a race between these promotions. We have Michiko Nagashima on the rise in LLPW. We have Saki Hasegawa here in AJW, and then we have Hikari Fukuoka over in JWP. Let's see who gets somewhere first, because these are the 3 people I'm looking at on a path forward. Suzuka Minami defeats Utako Hozumi. 9 minutes. Very one-sided dominance by Suzuka. Grapples. Feeds a few roll-ups, but she just Germans Hozumi with a bridge in short order. Not much here, just okay. Hozumi looks at the ref in post and confused. Says, 2! They just kind of stare at each other like, no? Suzuka just gets out of the ring without any sort of celebration. So it really makes you wonder something's going on here politically. What was up with that? Was Suzuka Minami meant to just go home early and put her away easily with no real comeback, and that's why she got out real fast? Is that why Hozumi was like, all right, I'll play ball, but I got to kind of like say what the fuck in the end? Something to keep an eye on. I'm going to try to research that a little more, see if something did come out of this show. But Observer didn't say anything, but I doubt he's like super into his inner LLPW knowledge. I get a lot of that stuff from like old blogs and that have taken newspaper clippings out and then translated like weekly pro articles and shit. But not much of LLPW coming out of this show, honestly, from what I could find. Takako Inoue defeats Yasha Kurenai. 11 minutes, 50 seconds. Yasha, one of my favorite worst Joshi workers, at least in terms of the 90s. She mostly just gets her ass kicked in this, too. And that's kind of her gimmick. Takako sits on the top rope at the beginning in a funny bit. She goes like, she does the whole cross legs, idol girl type deal. And Kurenai does the delinquent crouch. So good little start there. Kurenai, she's got so much charisma. Love that. And the finish is a good representation of the match. Kurenai tries a top rope choke slam, but eats a regular suplex and then a straightjacket version after that. And then Takako just drags her to the top and hits her own super choke slam. Then the Aurora special, which is that waist lock backdrop hold that terrifies me. And she wins. So you see a pattern here. Let's recap here for a second. Japanese tag titles. LLPW, L. Suzuki Minami defeats Utaka Hozumi. LLPW, L. Takako Inoue defeats Yasha Kurenai. LLPW, L. Bull Nakano against LLPW regular Norio Tateno, 15.5 minutes. Guess what? LLPW, L. This is best described as the 1980s AJW main event over this era we were in. Tateno's first real match back in AJW since her forced retirement. Should have felt bigger, should have been better. Yeah, she got set up with the former ace, Bull Nakano, but really it felt like it was Yumi Ogura coming back in the ring here for one last ride against Bull instead of one half of the Jumping Bomb Angels. I don't know if that says more about what people actually thought of the Angels at the time, but I could definitely see what they think of Tateno now, and it ain't much. Lots of mat work and getting to the ropes, few German suplexes for near falls. Tateno kicks out of the top rope leg drop, which I guess, is kind of surprising. Eats a gnarly crooked moonsault from Bull to lose. Bummer and utterly disappointing. This depressed me. 3 matches left here. Manami Toyota and Yamada, Gold Team combo here, taking on Harley Saito and Miki Honda. Can you guess the result? If you guessed LLPWL, you would be correct. That's exactly what happened. 16 minutes, 46 seconds. I think the greatest part of Manami Toyota's act in 93 is how much, even in promos, she leans into hitting someone in the face with her front drop kicks. And, well, we start this match and Manami hits the greatest drop kick of all time from the second rope into Honda's face. My favorite mid-card wrestlers are not allowed to dream. That's for sure. Lots of busted faces going on here. Harley Saito tries to play some interference a lot, but Toyota and Yamada, they regain control pretty easily. Big moonsault to the outside from Toyota. Naturally, she almost goes face first in the apron on the way down. It's just, we love her for that. Very much a one-sided match for the AJW team. Man, this really sounds familiar, doesn't it? And Harley never got her fair shake in. She did, however, eat a rough-looking big backdrop on her shoulder, followed by the JOC. Post-match, we do get a glimpse of Harley Saito wearing a sling, so either she messed up her shoulder or, that had to hurt, and she's just being precautionary. But, add her to the list of Joshi injuries in 93. This was pretty good and mostly exciting. It is my second favorite match on the show. I think I'll go 2 out of 3 on that one. Maybe a low-end one. Aja Kong and Kyoko Inoue defeat, yes, Eagle Sawai and Yukari Osawa. Another L for LLPW. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 match losing streak for the LLPW team. My God. They won the opener in the rookie off, and then they won the rookie title for LLPW. Whoop-de-doo. 6 matches in a row they have lost. So yeah, Eagle did a couple Big Vader type moves, and then she just kind of got the hell out of there. This was 11 minutes. She was a ghost in this match. But again, makes you think something politically is going on here with LLPW and AJW in this booking. Aja and Kyoko come in, just handily wipes out Osawa with basic stuff. Aja does her little pop-up flying elbow here for the easy win. And easy is basically me saying this was kind of a squash. Except Aja and Eagle did have some fun power stuff in the middle, but look, poor Osawa got jobbed out hard, made to look utterly weak as hell. Not to mention the crisscross running the ropes in the post-match and striking poses, dicking around by the AJW duo here. But here's the kicker. Throughout this show, the crowd only popped for AJW wrestlers and jeered on occasion for the LLPW ones. So it was very much noted. And when this match ended the way it did and Kong and Inoue start dicking around and they're running the ropes, the crowd reacted to it because they're like, my God, finally. And our main event, Shinobu Kandori against Yumiko Hotta. Of course, the lone big win for LLPW is indeed Shinobu Kandori, a 20-minute, 41-second affair against Hotta. Hotta attacks before the bell, Kandori at first chance stops that beatdown for a no-sell, and she removes her jacket. So very, Kandori in a nutshell, if you will. You're not going to big league me, damn you. Kandori and Hota trade off these like stiff strikes and no-sell as much as they can while they're seconds from the outside. They egg each other on. They're talking shit. They're cheering their teammate, that kind of thing. This is the match that got a legit crowd reaction from start to finish. Kandori is over. And the rest of LLPW certainly is not. At least in the sense on this AJW show. So lots more kicks and no-selling and German suplexes, more rolling kicks, straight jacket Germans, Kandori kicking out of Tiger drivers, avoiding the pyramid driver, so they protected that. Hota is like bleeding with her with like just the opening scrap wound that she had earlier in the night during that ceremony. Kandori's going right after it, and she's bleeding. So Hota does manage a weak-looking pyramid driver, but the weakness was countered into a leg lock from Kandori. Hota does make the ropes, but Kandori just pulls her back instead of letting go, much to the utter dismay of the crowd. Just finally some real heat. Hota taps, and Kandori keeps the hold on after the bell. There's more loud boos. Takako kicks Kandori off Hota, gets a big slap for her trouble, and this leads to Takako going big bitch mode on her while the group pulls them apart. This was rad. It was cool as fuck match, and yes, Hota's best singles match I've probably seen to date. Full 3 recommendation. Could not believe my eyes. And the show overall, I think, way under-delivered, underperformed in ring, and while the main event was good to great, there just wasn't any heat nor juice on the show as a whole. And that was my big issue with it. But I would say they did it better at Oda, and they definitely do it better at the LLPW show involving the Rumi and Hokuto hair match. No, I think you know what? I think I'm done here with the AJW. I believe it's Russell Marine Piad next. And I'm wondering if I should just do the whole show, because I believe the classics have 5 clipped matches, which is a good chunk. I think at the very least I will kind of do what I did here with the LLPW War show, we'll call it, where it's like simple notes with the matches, little backstory, and then we can go from there. The big takeaway match is, of course, the main event, Hota versus Kandori. Guys, that's it for the Joshi. Tanner, WCW. What?
Why do we keep doing this to ourselves?
It's called Halloween Havoc, and it stayed to the name. It was spooky. It was havocness. It had havocal things going on.
It was. Oh man, look, there's not too many shows that I would put above this in terms of being the worst show that I've ever seen.
Well, I'm glad you put it that way, because we got more coming.
I mean, I've seen some bad shows. This is nowhere near Heroes of Wrestling. I'll state that first. But oh my god. I don't know why we subject this to other people.
I think one of the best things that sums this up was Bobby Heenan. The go home words was after Sting gives the referee the Scorpion Death Drop, Bobby Heenan just goes, why not? Just like that.
Yeah.
Just a total disgust. He hated it.
This is amongst some of the worst wrestling, some of the worst decision making that I can recall. Now we obviously this is Vince Russo's very first pay-per-view for WCW. Right?
Hell yeah,
we have a. You're so excited. I don't know if my heart can take it. We have a long way to go here with Vince Russo, right? But
sort of.
Man,
it's weird because he's so bad.
Hell of a way to kick this off.
He's fired inside like 3 months.
Yeah, man. It was so bad they fired him, brought him back only to fire him again.
You got to be convinced that he was like the relief pitcher that you pay $30 million for, and even though he's posting a 9.3 ERA, you just go, but we're paying the guy. we gotta put him in sometimes. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Put him on the trade block right now.
This show has a 3.56 rating on Cage Match.
I'll do you one better. This show has a 1.5 rating on 411 Mania.
Yes. Amazing. So, I don't remember all the absurd, useless backstage segments that they did.
There were a lot.
There were a lot. There was a couple that stand out. Maybe I'll remember them. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let's remind the people at home what we should be expecting tonight, and I need to emphasize that.
Oh yes,
what we should be expecting tonight is a double main event of Sid Vicious versus Goldberg, and Sting defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Hulk Hogan. That's
match,
it, folks.
Yeah, a match that they advertised and plugged and hyped up that was definitely happening for the entire show.
Yeah. Not only the entire show, but for the last 6 weeks, I want to say.
Yeah.
I just want that to sink in.
Now, I will say the Goldberg-Sid Vicious match and the lead-up, I thought they actually did very well with these two.
Yeah.
I mean, there was car shenanigans. Sid was amazing. He had the lawyer swerve, which I thought was cool. Goldberg speared him, and that led to Sid ignoring the contract that he had in place. This show started with Goldberg jumping Sid Vicious in the back, leaving him in a pool of his own blood. Sid gets up and he's like, "That's all you got?" And he's bloody, and they show him with stitches later. They come out in the match. We'll get to the match later, but look, that was good. Mm-hmm. I was shocked how much I enjoyed all that. You think I'm joking, but I'm actually serious about the Goldberg Sid Vicious.
No, I'm not. I do think you're serious, and let's just get into this thing.
Okay.
Because we say too much of it, then we're gonna spoil the amazing journey that we're about to take for the listener.
Well, it was a journey. The journey is filled with boring matches that you don't know that were even going to happen. More angles. Well, hello, cat. Wait, is he running around?
Cats galore.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he's got a bushy tail and he's running up and down stairs now. He's got a lot of playroom. But anyways, do you remember when we left reviewing the Go Home show with Nitro? I loosely guessed what matches were going to happen.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I was kind of right on some of them.
Yeah. No, you did a decent enough job. I'll give that to you. You were very, very close in many respects.
Okay. And then in other respects, I had no idea.
Well, but again, how were you supposed to predict what exactly was going to go down here?
Right. Was it the third longest match on the show? No. Okay, so that joke doesn't go. Anyways, Disco Inferno starts out the show against Lash LaRue, defending the Cruiserweight title. Beast stole my heart.
Defending the Cruiserweight title and apparently all of democracy, as he has tweeted recently. So, there's that. Oh God. Don't you just love Disco Inferno on Twitter? He's just amazing.
I don't.
Oh my God, he's the worst. He's the absolute. I don't know if there's anybody who like embodies the worst more than Disco Inferno.
Well, I mean, he was in a contender for worst match on the show because, good God, this was sloppy and this was boring.
This was such a bad match all the way around. Disco, not entertaining, not a cruiserweight. And Lash LaRue, God bless him. I'm not quite sure what Vince Russo saw in Lash LaRue compared to the whole other roster of cruiserweights that you have in your division. Plus, I mean, man, if they only hadn't have screwed up so bad, I mean, they could still call upon New Japan or maybe even some talents in Mexico, but that's not a solution anymore. So here we are, 1999 WCW Cruiserweight Champion Disco Inferno facing Lash LaRue. Both men
on pay-per-view.
On pay-per-view.
Yeah, you
both
paid
men.
Probably
not cruiserweights. Yes, you paid probably $40 for this show back in the day. That's a lot of money, adjusted for inflation now.
So Lash LaRue at this point in time was just over his rookie year. It shows.
Yep.
So to be fair, he shouldn't have been put in this position in the first place. Because there was a lot of guys around this time when I was watching WCW that I liked and couldn't wait for them to, let's call it, get good, if they could.
Yeah.
You know, because there was guys like Lash LaRue here. Evan Courageous comes to mind. And they just, like, they were, well, you know, young guys with lots of potential and some talent, and you just wanted to see him cook a little bit, but here we are at Halloween Havoc against Disco Inferno. So Disco wins in a shitty match. Moving on.
Sure. I mean, let's keep in mind that this match was 7.5 minutes of the shittiest wrestling possible. So it's not like this was quick. No, this was longer than some of the longest Nitro matches that we've seen over the last few weeks. And God.
Nothing on this entire pay-per-view came across like a pay-per-view. This seemed like I was watching Nitro the entire time.
So at post-match, Lash LaRue attacks Disco Inferno, and he gets booed despite being the babyface, which is hilarious.
Yeah, and he picks up the title, throws it down, puts his hands on his head. He's like, oh, bummer. And that was the theme. A lot of post-match beatdowns randomly throughout the show. Yeah, every time. Okay, so we got a Fruit Booty promo from Stevie Ray. I cackled.
Well, hold on. But before we go into the next match, there is an important caveat here.
Oh, no.
So,
that's
we were shown
right. Yes.
earlier in the day, Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko actually arrived together because there's a lot of rumblings inside the Revolution, right? You know, will or will it not be televised? That's the question, right? So Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit arrived together, and they are confronted by Perry Saturn. Okay, Perry's
flat art hat.
Yeah. Yes. Benoit and Malenko basically refute, Perry Saturn and tell him and Shane Douglas to stick it, which is a hilarious, 90s-ism for go F yourself. So we'll see where that turns later.
And we also get the announcement that the tag titles have been stripped of the Filthy Animals. They are vacated, and yet the Filthy Animals just do some Freebird rules, and it's Kidman and Conan defending them.
Yeah, man.
So left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. It's par for the course with WCW. So we get the Fruit Booty promo. Harlem Heat say they're going to win. They're going to the streets because it's a Falls Count Anywhere triangle match. And
they're taking it to the streets.
So it's the first family of huge knobs, Conan and Kidman, Booker T and Stevie Ray. The bell rings. They hit each other with shit for 5 minutes. They go because it's Falls Count Anywhere. They actually do something that when you're watching these matches and you go, why doesn't someone just pin someone, in a different part of the arena when there's less people involved? Well, we found out what happens in the reaction when you actually do that. It's really dumb. So they hit each other with shit for 5 minutes. They're throwing each other through the set of Havoc, which is a good, cool set. Big ghoul, pumpkin, it's floating. They got graveyards and gravestones and coffins and all kinds of Halloween themed stuff.
Yeah.
So of course they break it all in the second match of the show. So the set is kind of destroyed for the rest of it. Stevie Ray and Booker T brawl with Brian Knobbs to the back. Stevie Ray gets a plaster mummy, or they tell me it was a mummy.
Yeah, a paper mache, probably some sort.
And he does a body splash with the mummy on Brian Knobbs, and Booker T pins him. But there's no
incredible
finish. Your heart can't take it. It was so exhilarating. The bell does not ring because the ref now they count 3, and the ref now has to go back to the ring and announce that they have won, and then Kidman and Conan get the pin on Hugh Morris in the ring afterwards, while Stevie Ray and Booker T are trying to celebrate on the ramp. The bell doesn't ring. The refs have to have a powwow. It's like 30 seconds of awkward while the camera is now on Conan. He separated his shoulder or something in the match.
Oh, jeez.
And then they just announced, and new WCW Tag Team Champions for the, 10th time?
Yeah, something incredible, like 11th time, 12th time.
So the crowd does not react. They don't cheer. There's some piped-in cheers. And then they leave. This was horrendous. Don't ever do this.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe just don't do this ever again. I think we were all better for it without having this in our lives.
Yeah, imagine if we watched Arcade Anarchy or Anarchy in the Arena, and there was multiple refs, and then there's a pin somewhere in the back.
And everybody gets upset.
Yeah, and you're just like, whatever. Okay.
Oh.
So Kidman and Conan or Conan's at least hurt. Rey Mysterio has a filthy leg, I guess. So he's not there, even though they reference him multiple times throughout this thing. And then Eddie Guerrero and Perry Saturn have a match for 11 minutes.
Now, before the match, we do get Ric Flair and David Flair heading into the arena. And then we also get DDP and Kimberly coming out to the ring. All right. Now, nothing is said. Nothing is said about Kimberly possibly sleeping with Ric Flair on the previous Nitro that we're aware of. She does hint a little bit about it, but the details are very vague, it seems. DDP gets the heel heat on Las Vegas and makes some very suggestive jokes.
It was a promo about having sex a lot and masturbation.
I didn't know how far we could go into that.
Well, I mean, that's what the whole promo was. Jack it, spank it, wank it, tug it. Over
man.
and over and over again.
That's what we got here. Before DDP ends up challenging Ric Flair to a strap match.
All night long.
Yeah, man.
All night long. Yeah.
We're then taken into the Eddie Guerrero Perry Saturn match, as you previously noted, but we are now made aware that Eddie Guerrero has stolen Ric Flair's watch from the last week's Nitro.
Are you calling him a thief?
That's what they did. They beat him down, stole his shoes and socks, and they took all his stuff, man.
It sounds pretty sounds pretty thiefdom. It was Mean Gene in the back going, I would never call you a thief, Eddie.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. I just asked if that was Ric Flair's watch.
You saying I'm a thief?
Yeah. So, Nitro repeat match, times 6. They worked way too hard for 11 minutes just for Ric Flair to come out with a crowbar and beat their asses.
Yeah, man. You know what this reminded me of? This reminded me of all of the old TNA stuff where you'd have just a really terrible card. It was another Vince Russo led card, but all the X Division guys, well, I know, incredible, right? But AJ Styles and all the X Division guys would work super duper hard to give the fans something. But then you're like, dude, it's all for nothing here, right? This is gonna be bad. Yeah, this is.
I would say every single finish on this show was not satisfying.
Yeah.
Every single one.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, you do get some decent wrestling, but the crowd, you've already pissed off the crowd with the first 2 matches. So they're really not having it. There is some good wrestling here. But the finish here.
Oh my god, getting sick just recounting the show.
The finish comes when when Flair comes out with a crowbar and he attacks Eddie Guerrero with the crowbar. This is I guess it's to get his watch back. It seems a little bit extreme.
Well, I mean, they did beat his ass and his son's ass on Nitro, so, I mean, it makes, just because it makes sense in storyline doesn't mean, just do it on Nitro next week. The next night. What?
You could do that. You definitely could do that.
Yeah. So, Brad Armstrong and Berlin had a match. It went 4 minutes and 23 seconds. Brad Armstrong counters the neck breaker by holding on the ropes, and then he just pins him. The Wall beats his ass in post, and we move on. Anyone get over?
Definitely not your boy, Berlin. He definitely didn't get over.
It's not looking good. Not looking good for Berlin.
No. Yeah, man. Well, do you want to talk about all of the Goldberg Sid stuff backstage?
I mean, I kind of already did.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. So basically, all you need to know is that there's a bloody brawl backstage between Goldberg and Sid before their match. That there was also some interesting stuff here. A promo by Buff Bagwell.
Oh God!
It didn't get over.
No. Yeah. Okay. So let's do these 2 segments right now before we get to the incredible Rick Steiner Chris Benoit match, two things happen. I don't remember any particular order. It doesn't matter. The point is, Buff Bagwell comes out. He references the two new writers from New York are here to save WCW, and he's using all fancy quotation marks, and he's taking the piss out of everything. And then he challenges Jeff Jarrett, my favorite guy, of course. We all know this. I can't believe that I have to watch 2 pay-per-views with this fucking guy showing up on it.
What, this one in Full Gear? Is that the one that you're talking about?
Yeah, Bathroom Break. That's what that is. Dude, I've quit watching Dynamite until that guy's gone.
I mean,
the show is irredeemably bad now.
But they brought back the old Impact theme for him.
I want no reminders of fucking TNA. 0.
Well, you're gonna have a rough time watching AEW much nowadays.
I'm not watching it. It's not happening.
I know.
Anyways.
Impact is all over AEW right now.
So, Jarrett comes out. Bagwell does some counter wrestling, I guess. The Lex Luger comes out. I'm sorry. The Total Package comes out because Elizabeth allegedly got hit with the guitar. He takes the guitar, hits Buff Bagwell with, like, the arm of it. It does not break. Jeff Jarrett hightails it. Bagwell's down, and then Package makes the rest of the guitar explode on the turnbuckle. Cool.
Horrible.
Why was this on pay-per-view? Why was this anything?
Oh, man.
And then, like, as an intermission, we get Medusa in a teeny bikini with some WCW Nitro cologne. I will call this cologne because no way it's actual cologne.
Cologne.
Yeah. And she's flaunting those just enormous jiggling things in front of us. Very nice, but not inducive of a wrestler. I will say that. So she flaunts them. She goes to the desk. She gets a mic. And she says, this is bullshit. Tell the dudes in New York, I hate this. And then she pours all the cologne on Bobby Heenan. Shivani laughs. And she leaves.
Probably smells like piss. Probably smells like somebody just peed in the bottle.
Black Panther, this was not.
No. Steel Panther. Yeah.
Steel Panther. Okay.
Yeah. Kimberly does cut part of the promo about the spanking stuff, right? Which does lead me to believe that maybe that's all her and Ric Flair did in that hotel room was just
he spanked her 14 times.
Spanked her.
They were very adamant about 14 times.
Yeah, I think that's all that happened.
Sure.
I'd like to think that that's the world that I live in, but who's to say?
I mean, they could have showed him spanking her, and her then having a just wacky reaction to it. At least that would have been funny.
I think that would have been. I mean, considering what she was wearing, that still would have been way over the line.
Think so?
For 1999 television? Oh,
I guess.
Heck yeah.
I guess. I mean, well, they're already like. Anyways.
I know what you're gonna say. I know.
Rick Steiner, Chris Benoit. They have a 13-minute match with a swerve. There were some suplexes. That was cool.
There's some suplexes. A lot of no selling on Rick's part.
Oh yeah, he was not playing that game.
Yeah, and I just don't know if that's just because he's no selling it to make him like big up himself, because he never like put on like the front of just like, you know, like I'm Superman, right? He's not a Wardlow. He's not a he's not a Braun Breaker.
Oh my god. This is for the TV title, by the way, in case you forgot Benoit was champion.
True. This is a Rick Steiner who just looks really tired for most of the match, and he's doing a lot of things very recklessly.
So there's a ref bump. Dean Malenko comes out, grabs the chair, and then he turns and hits Chris Benoit. Rick Steiner laughs. Perry Saturn is on the ramp. Benoit smiles. He goes, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
They leave. Benoit has been betrayed.
What's crazy is that, like, Rick Steiner somehow keeps getting all these friends in, like, real convenient places. Like, it was Sid a few weeks ago.
Right.
Now it's the Revolution. I don't know. This is just all very strange.
So, new champion. Hope everyone's excited for the TV title back on Rick Steiner in 1999.
Yeah. Perry Saturn came out and hugged Dean Malenko.
Bro's got a hug, man.
Bro's got a hug.
Total package with a not damaged Miss Elizabeth. I mean, okay, that came out wrong. She was allegedly hit with a guitar in the back, and package is all upset, and she came out totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Bret Hart cuts a promo about his ankle being all messed up, and he's gonna go out there hurt, and they have a competent 7-minute 46-second match. It was totally fine. They did the Royal Rumble spot from '94 in the match. That's where Bret Hart re-injures his ankle. Package gets he gets a single leg with a little extra leverage on the ankle, and Bret Hart taps. Competent.
I think you're being very generous.
Look, man, I don't got much to go off on this show. Give me a break here.
Lex Luger is, at this point, he does not care about wrestling at all, really, as part of his career. His favorite part of the night is where Liz strips off his tearaway pants to reveal that he is severely dehydrated while flexing. And you can see all of the different muscle fibers and all that good jazz. That's his favorite.
He gets blown up in 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's his favorite part of the night. He likes the part of the night where he can do some lat pull downs, make his back look really big, so that way when he comes out and flexes 3 hours from now, that everybody goes, ooh, ah, and then there's a match, and he just makes it up as he goes along, like the best wrestler in the world as of this time here in 1999. Bret Hart could not save Lex Luger here. It's just a tragedy. Tragedy.
Bret Hart tried. He tried really hard.
Yeah, he did, and I don't blame Bret at all. Right. But geez, yeah.
So Hulk Hogan's music hits.
Yeah.
Not "I Am a Real American." It plays all the way through. The crowd's all hyped. They're ready, and here I am thinking, going, "Oh, Goldberg Sid is the main event." But wait, there's a strap match. Maybe they accidentally said it was for the pay-per-view, and it's actually on Nitro. That's what was going through my mind.
Yeah.
So Sting comes out instead, because Hulk Hogan's music plays all the way through with no Hulk Hogan. So I went, oh, he's not showing up. Okay. So Sting comes out, goes the whole entrance. They play Hulk Hogan's music again. And I go,
yep.
All right, someone else is going to come out, just like I thought I predicted, right? I predicted that.
It's going to be Horace Hogan.
Well, I was thinking, I don't know, they put like Bret Hart or something in there. I don't know. something wacky, right? Some other main eventer they don't use
the
properly.
Brett who just lost to Lex Luger.
Well, I mean, not in the context now, but it's Russo. You never discount it. Valiant babyface that just lost wins the world title. Like, don't put those stupid things past him.
Mm-hmm.
So something even more dumb happens. Hulk Hogan does come out, and he's in combat boots, jeans, and a open up like jacket.
Yeah, man.
And I'm going, what's happening? He gets in the ring, says a couple things to Sting, and then it's essentially the finger poke of doom without the poke. He just lays down and Sting pins him. The crowd. Oh my God, they could not cut away fast enough
for the second time in his career. and it will happen again.
Yeah. So they could not cut away fast enough. They play a big Goldberg Sid Vicious video package. They come back, and this is like, I think 4 minutes went by just for the video package, and they come back to the ring before they could play Sid Vicious's music, and the crowd is having a visceral reaction to what they just saw. They were absolutely lied to. They were absolutely just conned out of their money, because that's what this was. You advertised this fucking match, this world heavyweight title match, for 6 weeks. Yep. Up until the fucking match happens for that. Disgusting. Yeah. Just absolutely disgusting. And the crowd reacted very much. Like, they should have pelted the ring with garbage. And I'm sure they probably did. Some people did.
It was insulting, would be to say the least. It was a bad match. It was a bad happening. It's just I just don't understand the logic in it, and I don't really know if Hogan or anybody else, or Sting for that matter, has even talked about why this happened, right? Like, there's a lot to be said about what happens later in Hogan's career,
right,
between him and Russo. There's another occurrence of this happening that we won't get into, but it's just it's just so bad.
Yeah, without even going into backstage drama and everything, if you just watch this, which is what I wanted to do for this show, this pay-per-view, as a wrestling fan, everything up until this point, and then that, like, give me back my money. That's what it'd be. It'd be exactly that. I want a refund right then and there.
Yeah.
So Goldberg Sid Vicious for the U.S. title. They had a 7-minute match. There was bleeding. Sid Vicious was bloody all over the place. They beat each other up. There was some Sid Vicious nerve holes involved, and some Goldberg heel locks and whatnot. That was not the most exciting part, but they brawled. There was Sid Vicious bled a lot, actually. He had a big crimson mask.
He did.
I could have used without the outsiders randomly showing up and beating up Goldberg on the ramp before the match, but that at least gave Sid a slight advantage for 45 seconds. And I like the finish. The blood stoppage finish, I think, was great. I really like that. So I must correct myself from my earlier statement of not a single match had a satisfying finish. This was satisfying.
This was fine, especially with the story earlier in the night of them brawling backstage, and now they have to have the match. Yeah, could it have been better? Absolutely. But at least we have, at this point in the show, a ceiling for which this match could occur within, right? It could have been better, absolutely, but it definitely was not It was not as bad as a lot of what we got else otherwise here. This is probably match of the night, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yes, I agree. Because even the post match was Rick Steiner coming out, and he like Goldberg staring at him. You think there's going to be a post match beatdown of Goldberg like everything else on the show, some shenanigans, but instead it was he just carries Sid Vicious away. Sid Vicious is not happy with the blood stoppage finish, as he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be happy with that.
No.
And Goldberg stands tall, and it's like, wow, look what happens when you just do the shit that you advertise and do something cool.
Yeah, I mean, this finish would even work today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how cool would it be if we're watching Full Gear and it's Wardlow against Hobbs against Joe, and like all three dudes are just in a pool of their own blood, and the ref just goes, no contest. Every guy is bleeding too much.
There's just too much blood. We have to finish this thing. We have to stop it.
We have to stop the match. I think that'd be super cool.
Yeah, I'd be into that.
So new U.S. champion. Hey, how about that? I was about to think that they were going to go, because it was a blood stoppage like it's 1962, that Goldberg did not win the title. And they weren't going to hand it to him. I was thinking that, but they did. I was like, okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
You should absolutely win the title for kicking too much ass.
And then Rick Steiner does come out to help Sid Vicious to the back from the blood loss. That's a little nice touch there. A little nod to what we were talking about earlier. We do get footage from Nitro airing on the pay-per-view, by the way, from Kimberly, I guess, going into this hotel room, getting into her lingerie, only for Ric Flair to appear from the bathroom.
Yep, they in all his clothes, by the way, with the shower running. Can't stress that
fully
enough.
Clothed.
Fully
yeah,
clothed.
I guess he was just using the toilet and ran the shower, just maybe because he's conscious of maybe the noises that come out of a bathroom. Hotel rooms are very small spaces, so maybe he was just trying to like mask whatever horror was really going on inside that bathroom.
I like your logic. That does make sense.
The only thing that would make it better is if you just hear a toilet flush in the background.
Oh well, yeah, you got to hear that.
Ric Flair's like, "Woo! How's it going, Kimberly?"
So DDP and Ric Flair have a strap match that goes 13 minutes. It's a long walk and brawl. Brawl.
Yeah. This is the strap match style with pinfall or submission. Or rather, no, it's the four corners. You have to touch the four corners as opposed to the pinfall and submission. Rather,
are you sure? No, it was just pinfall or submission, wasn't it?
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I don't remember them going to any corners.
You're right. I was falling asleep during this part. I'll be honest.
Don't blame me.
I'm relying on some notes here.
This is a very very much better stipulation to a strap match than touching all the corners.
I agree, and I think even if we went to as controversial as it might be, even if we looked back at the CM Punk MJF strap match, I mean that was using this right. So yeah, I think this is the much better approach here.
Well, that was a dog collar match. Yeah, same thing.
I mean, basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There was, let's see. Whoa. that came off. Things are falling apart over here.
Oh.
No worries.
As long as everything's safe. That's what
everything
matters.
is moderately safe.
Okay. Moderate is fine.
Yeah. DDP. Ric Flair does bleed in this match, doesn't he? Yes. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. He chokes out Ric Flair with the strap, turns it into a diamond cutter. And honestly, I have no memory of the finish other than that or what happened in the walking brawl, because the post-match was everything I remember.
Yeah.
I thought the match was really boring.
Yeah. I mean, so what you need to know about this is DDP wins, right? DDP beats Ric Flair in this strap match. It's it's not great. It's just not great. But yes, tell us about the post match of this.
So there's been some filthy animal business. They've been getting their ass kicked all night. Not a good night for them. So DDP beats up Ric Flair after the match, beats him to a bloody pulp. Lots of diamond cutters. Diamond cutters Charles Robinson, the ref. Kimberly waves to him. He goes back in the ring, does some more stuff. Then the filthy animals come out. And no, does DDP... Who hits Ric Flair with the crowbar in the nuts? It's DDP, right? Yeah. Yeah. So he hurts David Flair with the crowbar. He nut shots Ric Flair with the crowbar. Yeah, and then they do a long stretcher angle, and then the filthy animals jump in the back and drive away with him in the ambulance, beat him up. Yeah, so there we go. That's what happens. And it was long. This must have went on for like 40 minutes.
It took forever. Oh my god. Oh. And here's where we thought the night would end, right?
Right. Tune into Nitro to see if Ric Flair is okay. But was it before? I think it was before the match. Sting came out for a promo and said, "I came for a fight, open challenge."
Yeah, so he does this promo after weeks of him being a heel. He turns he does a babyface promo turn where he's like, you know, he's basically open challenge. I challenge anybody for me to defend my title tonight. To save the show. Just, oh my god. So, who answers the open challenge? Don't.
And I have never heard a less reaction for Goldberg on WCW before this moment.
Oh man.
They're just like, all right, it's Goldberg, cool, I guess. They were just devastated by the show at this point. And they had the so they do a little stare down. They go 3 minutes, and thank God it was only 3 minutes, but it was like, I guess, exciting. I don't know. It was pretty fucking hard to get into the match, to be honest.
Now, we do have to emphasize very early on here, Sting very much implies that he's there to defend his title.
Yes.
Right? Like that's what he's here for. That's what this open challenge is all about. That's what the words open challenge implies to me.
Yes.
But there's some confusion at commentary because they don't believe that this is a title match. They said there's nothing agreed upon. There's no contracts. What are we doing here? So
I don't like where this is heading on Nitro.
Yeah. So there's this match. Charles Robinson, thankfully, is still around.
Oh my god, I forgot about that part. So Sting and Goldberg are out there, and they're like wandering and killing time, and Sting exits the ring, and he looks at the camera and goes, "No ref."
Right. Yeah, Charles Robinson, who just took a diamond cutter in the last match.
Well, I mean, he was weeping, so he was up from the diamond cutter.
Little Nate, you know. So Yeah. Goldberg no sells a spear. Goldberg then misses his own spear. He hits the next spear and then hits the jackhammer.
Well, Sting did hit him with 3 splashes in the corner before that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and then
Fair
it was
enough.
an Irish whip reversal. Bang, got him. So Goldberg is the world champion yet again for the second time.
He holds up the title.
He sure did. Big reaction.
Oh my god.
We've been waiting for if they were going to do, well, he's double champion now, by the way. US and heavyweight.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we're
back to the same status as he had just a year or two ago.
Yeah. At this exact time. They made him vacate the US title.
Forfeit the US one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't get over the no ref thing at the beginning. That is fucking funny.
No ref.
No ref. Ha ha ha. Charles Robinson runs down, does the slide. Yeah, ring the bell. I'm here.
My neck really hurts. That's
boy.
hilarious. Oh yeah. So there you go, folks. That was Halloween Havoc.
Fucking just all the packs of ass. There was so much ass to be had on this show. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Packs of ass.
I can't believe. Well, I can believe, but I can't believe.
You really should start believing.
We've been waiting for Goldberg getting another chance at the world title. Him heating back up. The Sid story, I think, worked to get him almost back there. They have the story with the Outsiders where he never really truly got his revenge. He did the taser ladder match thing with Hall, but that was dumb. And they should have jumped him before this. Before the
no Hall, no Nash.
Yeah, they were gone after the first jumping. But anyways, Havoc. I can't wait for Nitro the next day. Tanner, this has been good.
Yeah, man.
See you in 2 weeks.
Fun as always. You sound so disappointed.
Very much so. That's the end of the episode. We're going home.